McGrath has yet to finalise his plans.
The key thing is that we deal with the issue of those who are on a normal average wage within our country paying high rates of marginal taxation. Other budgets that I have done, including in supply and confidence, have included changes in both USC and personal taxation in terms of tax credits. And I know Minister McGrath will consider all these matters and bring forward proposals soon.
Police have confirmed that the items recovered during a security alert in Derry on Friday are understood to include 6 improvised explosive devices, ammunition and a machine pistol. A search of a house was carried out in the Stewart's Terrace area of Rosemind. As the policing operation continued into Friday evening, police came under attack once again with petrol bombs and masonry thrown at them. Finally, for weather, cloudy this morning with scattered outbreaks of rain, becoming gradually drier and brighter through the day with highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with news again at 10 o'clock. Until then, good morning.
Jack, everyone asks me if you're teething when you cry, but can you be teething all the time? Maybe you're hungry, or you're sad and need a little cuddle. Or maybe it's something else.
At the HSE's mychild.ie and in the free My Child books, you'll find the answers you need. From doctors, midwives, public health nurses, dietitians and lots of other experts. mychild.ie. Expert advice for every step of pregnancy, baby and toddler health. From the HSE.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio. And now it's time for the talk of the Northwest, the 9 to noon show with Greg Hughes on Highland Radio.
Hello, good morning to you. 4 minutes past 9, Monday, the 11th of September, 2023. How are you all keeping? I hope you had a good weekend and got the most out of the last of the probably summery type weather we're going to experience. It's really busy around the place. Lots of people still out and about socialising and spending, it seems anyway, at least in the north of the county. I'm not sure what it was like where you are, but anyway, as I say, I hope you're happy and well this morning. The lines are open for you now to get involved in the conversation, raise your issues, chat about whatever you want to chat about. 086 60 25,000, the WhatsApps and texts from outside the Republic. 00353 86 60 25,000. If you want to give us a call, Donna Marie and Neve will help you out there. 07491 25,000. Again, from outside the Republic, 00353 7491 25,000. And of course, need I remind you that you can indeed email us from anywhere. Comments at highlandradio.com. And of course, watch the show if you wish as well. We're there as well. Okay, let's crack on with a look at what's on the front and inside some of the papers today. The Derry People Donegal News, their headline, Money Mule Warning. Students of Donegal ATU have been urged not to act as money mules by criminals in order to launder the proceeds of crime. The fresh warning from the president of the Students' Union, Barry Breslin, came after new figures show nearly 17.5 million was transferred illegally through so-called money mule accounts between January and June of this year. The flow of cash represents an increase of almost 50% on last year. So someone will come to you and they'll say, my bank account's frozen or this, that and the other. I think the figure they normally are looking to wash through your accounts around about €10,000. They'll offer you €500 or 1,000 or something along those lines. And they won't just say, look, you're getting involved in some criminality here. They will try and frame it often a different way, but it can have really devastating impacts if you're caught, and you are likely to be caught, we're told by the Gardaí, and it also could inhibit your opportunities to travel for work or for life experiences as well. So if it's too good to be true, it's too good to be true. And they do target 18 to 25-year-olds particularly, it seems. The Derry News this morning, a Derry mother has vowed to take her campaign for mandatory Group B strep testing for all pregnant women in the North to Stormont. Shannon Doherty, whose son Ryan almost died from complications arising from the bacterial infection, is also organising a fundraiser for Altnagelvin Hospital's Ward 6, where Ryan received life-saving treatment. B strep is bacteria commonly found in the digestive tract, urinary tract and genital area. It rarely causes symptoms or problems in adults, but it can be fatal for newborn babies. I haven't heard that call before for all pregnant women to be tested for Group B strep. I'm not sure when that might happen in their pregnancy, but obviously that's a mum who believes it's really, really important. The Irish Independent today, kind of continuing by accident, not intention, a conversation we've been having on this programme for the last couple of weeks, and it's in relation to young people getting access to mental health services, disability network services as well, but their focus is on CAMHS. More than half of the children and teenagers referred to their local child and adolescent mental health services, CAMHS services, are refused access in some parts of the country. Around 4,000 children referred to mental health services this year were not accepted by the HSE, as the overall refusal rate increased by more than 10% in 3 years. Analysis of new data shows the number of children not accepted by the service varies dramatically depending on where they live. Cork and Kerry, the area with the highest waiting lists for children mental health services, also had one of the highest refusal rates. More than half of the almost 1,200 children referred to the service this year were not accepted. Figures compiled by the HSE show that in 2020, around 28% of the 17,436 children and adolescents referred to CAMHS were turned down. Now, presumably, there's a role here for GPs and others in referring younger people for these services. Now, I'm not sure if it's right or wrong that they are being refused. That's where yous come in. I mean, have you had experience of this where referral to CAMHS services or the CAMHS service was refused? Was it and is it the wrong decision? And maybe you can explain to us as why that decision was made and what it meant. As I say, feel free, please, to help us highlight these issues. 086 60 25,000, the WhatsApp and text number. The Irish Times tells us that road safety lessons for Leaving Cert students are being considered by Minister for Education Norma Foley in the wake of recent deaths involving young people on Irish roads. Ms Foley wrote to the Road Safety Authority last week seeking to explore avenues to enhance road safety education within schools, especially during senior cycle, though I think it should start much earlier. I think the younger ones are very busy in the Leaving Cert and maybe use the Leaving Cert to reaffirm stuff that's been put into their heads from a much younger age. I struggle to see how a minister thinks that the way to approach this awful situation is to do it in Leaving Cert, because even the best practice now, I would suggest the best practice now is transition year earlier, and then maybe reaffirm it in Leaving Cert. But I think Leaving Cert students have an awful lot on their minds, and it's a bit late at that point. But anyway, I mean, we wouldn't teach our Leaving Cert students, we wouldn't start teaching stuff like recycling, would we, in 5th and 6th class? You start that much younger. Obviously, sex education, they choose to start that at a very young age. Why, when something's such a life and death matter, why wait till 5th or 6th year? But anyway, listen, maybe it's something, and maybe you think it's the right time. For me, it's just not well thought through. Reading on here, though, while there are modules on road safety at junior cycle, Ms Foley said measures targeting older students should be considered, given that the group is most likely to be learning to drive. There have been a significant and saddening increase in fatalities on Irish roads in the past year, many of which have tragically involved children and young people, she wrote in a letter to Road Safety Authority Chairman Sam Wade. I'm aware of what they do already, and I just simply don't think it is enough. The much-hated USC could be cut somewhat this year in the budget. Well, certainly it's Budget 2024, of course, that's announced in a few weeks. The Irish Daily Mail tells us that Fianna Fáil and Finance Minister Michael McGrath are perceived to have been the big winners in the pre-budget power game in the wake of revelations that the government intends to prioritise cuts to USC in the budget. As part of its pre-budget process, the government has allocated 1.15 billion for tax cuts and is now believed to be prioritising significant cuts in USC as its signature tax policy. The hated universal social charge is seen as a Fianna Fáil tax since it was introduced by the late Fianna Fáil Finance Minister Brian Lenihan as an all-austerity measure. measure in 2010. Tensions have been high between Fianna Fáil and Fine Gael over Fine Gael's attempts to seize control of the tax agenda via Taoiseach Leo Varadkar's campaign for a 30% tax rate. It intensified after a spontaneous article by 3 Fine Gael ministers of state, which it wasn't spontaneous at all, of course, calling for significant tax cuts of $1,000 a year for middle income earners. So that's what they're working on at the moment. On to the Irish Daily Star this morning, and Taoiseach Leo Varadkar has said he does not believe that a legal mask mandate will be reimposed by the Irish government this winter. The HSE warned last month that the number of COVID-19 cases in Ireland was trending upward due to the emergence of the transmissible Eris strain. There were 305 people in hospital with COVID-19 at 8 a.m. on Friday morning. Some 46 new cases were admitted to hospital in the previous 24 hours, with 32 discharges. Again, I don't want to go down this road again. If it's something we have to talk to. But 46 new cases weren't admitted to hospital. 46 people were tested in hospital and had it. Again, this strange way of reporting it seems to continue. The Taoiseach said that there will continue to be waves of COVID-19, but thought it very unlikely mask wearing was to return. He said we're in a very different phase when it comes to dealing with COVID and also elections. Okay, that's the Star. On to, and I know this is something that comes up time and time again, but when a mother speaks out from the position she does, it's just something I don't want to ignore. A mum whose bullied daughter killed herself has backed a ban on under-15s using social media, declaring our kids are being lost in a virtual world. Aisling O'Neill's daughter, Mia, took her own life, aged just 16, after being subjected to a horrible campaign of online bullying. Aisling told the Irish Sun, "With my youngest daughter, I'd be delighted if she didn't have a phone except for contact reasons. I don't want her to have social media." A shocking report, as we mentioned, from Cyber Safety Kids found that 1 in 4 primary school children have experienced online bullying, with girls more likely to suffer than boys. But interestingly, in our conversation with a rep from that organisation, he wasn't of the view, or it seems the organisation isn't of the view, that we should have, say, for instance, something as simple as photographical ID to ensure that people are the age that they are. Now, I know there's privacy issues there, but I don't know, maybe we need to talk about that more broadly as well. And finally, in the Daily Mirror, 2 sports stories here. Rory Gallagher has been temporarily banned from GEA activities 4 months after he quit as Derry football manager over domestic abuse allegations. It was confirmed last night after reports he led a training session this week at Corduff Club in County Monaghan. Ulster GEA said Rory Gallagher has been temporarily debarred without prejudice until the Ulster GEA safeguarding panel conclude their work. The GEA really in reaction mode with a lot of this stuff. And finally, those that wanted Luis Rubiales out have got their way, because Spanish Football Federation President Luis Rubiales has said he is to resign following the controversy over him kissing Jenny Hermosa. He kissed the midfielder on the lips during the trophy presentation following Spain's victory over England in last month's World Cup final, but the player insisted it was not consensual, and she's reported it further up the chain, but he has said, "I'm out." Whilst investigations are ongoing, I think he believes he could not continue in that position. That being said, I don't believe he actually apologised or said he was in the wrong. Okay, good morning, Marie, Audrey, and the rest of you watching across our social media. It's great to have you on board. If you want to watch the programme, you can do so on YouTube, Highland Radio Ireland, where you can also watch on your smart TV, which has the YouTube app, and also your Fire Stick. It's also there as well, or across your mobile devices, laptops, phones and tablets. And we're on Facebook as well. All of Highland's Facebook pages. You can watch the show there as well. All right, we'll be back with our first guests on the programme today very shortly.
The newspapers are courtesy of Kelly Centra Mountaintop Letterkenny, the 2022 C-Store National Off-Licence of the Year.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today. Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tile Showroom in Buncrana is your one-stop solution for all your bathroom plumbing and tile needs. We offer a wide range of top-quality plumbing fixtures, tiles and accessories, all at the best possible price. Our experienced plumbing experts will help you choose the right products for your bathroom, renovation, new construction or remodelling project. Visit McDade's Bathroom Plumbing and Tiles in Buncrana and see why we are the best choice for all your bathroom and plumbing and tile needs.
The new Autumn-Winter Collection Aviator Jacket. Heavyweight, oversized, and lined with faux shearling. Feels like you wrapped yourself in a duvet. That's way more fashionable to leave the house in. F&F makes fashion sense. Available at Tesco. Products subject to availability. Available in the majority of larger stores.
McCullough Jewellers in Letterkenny are synonymous with fine jewellery, quality watches and giftware. With stores at Main Street, Letterkenny and the Letterkenny Shopping Centre or online at ormccullough.com. You can choose from their quality product range in a relaxed atmosphere, and their sales staff will be happy to help you make the right choice, whatever the occasion. McCullough Jewellers, making moments magical for generations.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
OK, the time is just turned 19 minutes past 9. We're joined on the programme now by Grania Brennan. Grania, good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg.
How's everything?
Well, it's as good as can be expected, I suppose.
Hanging in there, I suppose. Your husband,
hanging in there, that's right.
Your husband's not well at the moment. He is sick with colon cancer.
He's sick with, well, it was head and neck cancer, but it has now spread to the lungs and to the bones, yeah.
Okay. And we're talking now about your experience of the emergency department and interacting with it. Tell us the story, Grania.
Yeah, so he had just finished chemo and he got sick and was vomiting a lot and he had a temperature. So as advised, we rang out to the oncology ward and they advised us to go out to A&E, which we did, you know. So we live a 40-minute drive from Letterkenny. We live in Gotahork. Michael was very miserable at that stage. He was vomiting a lot. He couldn't relief, and whatever pain relief he did take, he had vomited it up. He couldn't take fluids, and he was in severe pain, as is the story with bone cancer in particular. So when, the oncology ward, the staff nurse told us that she would phone ahead. And so we went out thinking that we would have been dealt with in a reasonable amount of time. So we went and we were seen by the nurse right away, which was fair enough. But the nurse told us that, we weren't going to be seen for hours. She knew it was an emergency, but she said we wouldn't be seen for hours. And she said, when I say hours, I don't mean 3 to 4 hours, I mean 10 hours.
And at this point, your husband's very unwell.
Very unwell.
And I presume you presumed that he would be, maybe there would be some sort of a delay, but he'd be in a hospital bed or on the oncology ward if that was where he needed to be. I mean,
or even
you can't get much. You can't get much.
Doctor,
yeah, exactly. But you can't get. What point I'm trying to make is you can't. Like, he's a sick man, displaying, obviously very dramatic symptoms. That is an absolute emergency. You would never have imagined, I imagine, that you'd be told that you could be waiting an unspecified amount of hours.
Absolutely not. And the thing is, where was he going to sit? Like, he's a very sick man. He's very prone to picking up infections. And the waiting room was very busy. So she said you could sit in the car, for 10 hours, sit in the car. Now, Michael is in extreme pain, sitting in a car seat, is very, very uncomfortable for him. And there was no way we could sit in a car for 10 hours. So what we did, both his sisters were along with me, and we decided to go back in home again. And, to see how, we knew he was very sick, but we couldn't wait for 10 hours. So we went in home again. And, every bump and on that road is causing Michael pain. And he just begged us just to leave him alone for a few hours. He was that miserable. And eventually we called an ambulance because we thought, well, this is the only way we're going to go get into A&E, at least get in behind the doors sort of thing. So the ambulance arrived and, they tried to give him pain relief. But at this stage, Greg, we were sort of playing, catch up with pain relief because he had missed. He had vomited whatever pain relief he took that evening.
Understood.
And so, he was in severe pain and they just weren't able to get a handle on it. They tried their best or whatever. And so out to A&E again. And, sitting in a chair for hours, until I'd say we were out. We phoned the ambulance to 3:30 in the morning. I'd say we were out in A&E at about, between 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning. And that was us sitting.
And did he was discharged from the ambulance into the care of the hospital. Then was it in the ED or was it in that space behind the doors of the ED? Then he sat till 10?
The space where the cubicles are,
Yeah, is that area, okay. Yeah. So he sat there to 10, continued in severe pain.
We weren't actually in a cubicle, if you know what I mean. We were kind of lined up.
I know that it's just outside the X-ray room. I think is in that general area.
Right,
okay,
yeah.
And he sat there then from 5 till 10. He wasn't seen until 10. Was he given any pain relief overnight at that point, other than what the medics
I did ask. I phoned the oncology ward again. He was in severe pain, and I said, "What am I going to do?" And they were like, "Well, our hands are tied. That's got nothing to do with us. They've got their own nurses and their own doctors. You're going to have to ask them." So I did. I went up to and they gave him another form of pain relief, but it wasn't, it just wasn't making much impact at all, So the palliative care nurses, I guess, they came on duty at about 9 o'clock, I'm assuming, and they came looking for us, and then the ball started rolling in terms of getting him pain relief and trying to get him a cubicle and all of that,
Eventually, he did get a room.
He did get a room, but not until 6 or 7 o'clock that evening. So he was in that cubicle from 10 or 11 till 6 or 7 o'clock in the evening time, It was very, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, is that a room is that a ward or just a separate room? Sorry, Grania, just so
no, one of those cubicles in the
Understood.
ED,
right, okay, yeah, I do.
The trolley or whatever in it, yeah.
And then eventually got onto a ward that evening at 7 p.m.
Yeah.
Okay.
Got on to the oncology ward, yeah.
And we've had a similar story with this before. I'm not sure if your husband was given a red car.
I didn't hear
apparently there's a red card that's received if you're a cancer patient, and that's supposed to.
That's right, yeah.
But that didn't work for you at all, of course.
No, sure, they knew it was an emergency because the oncology nurse, like I said, had phoned out, had phoned ahead of us, told them, explained the situation,
And I'm not. It's just I've spoke to a few people off and on air about this, and I'm not attributing this to any individual. I'm attributing to the system. But people I've spoken to,
right?
Yeah, but people I've spoken to in your situation is they felt like the system has given up on him. That he's too sick for the effort. Do you have that emotion?
Sorry, say that again, Greg?
That the system has almost given up on him because he is so sick.
Yeah, I mean, I was sitting opposite him and he was in extreme discomfort, and it's hard for me to watch that. And you're like, it's beyond your control, and it's just such an indignity for him, He's lost so much through cancer already. He's only 43.
Oh, no.
And, the fact that something that's totally avoidable, that's totally avoidable. He needed a drip. He needed an antibiotic. He needed some pain relief. I mean, we shouldn't have to wait hours for that,
And I think part of the problem is being admitted through the ED. I think in the past, and unfortunately we see it with pregnant women as well, having to go through the ED. It's an extra layer of time and people that really is going to end up in oncology anyway, or a pregnant woman's going to end up in on the gynae ward anyway. It's just to group everyone through these set of doors seems strange, at the very least. Strange is the only word I can come up with.
Well, unfamiliar. It just seems to be very disconnected. There's no sort of, from what I see, there's no link between the oncology ward and there should be a link. I think all cancer patients, especially those that have an advanced stage of cancer, like Michael, and is in a serious state of suffering, should be seen to, within a reasonable amount of time. I know there's pressure on the system, but within a reasonable amount of time, by like an oncologist or an oncology nurse who has his notes in front of them and knows exactly what his history is, and what's going on with him. I don't think that should be that hard to organise. I think, we need a change of policy here,
And also, I mean, obviously, too, the both of you have worked hard your whole lives, contributed through your taxes and all. And, you kind of do that, or we kind of do that naively, thinking that, when it's needed,
you'll be looked after.
You'll be looked after,
You think you'll be looked after at your, this is our hour of need. This is our hour of need now. And that is just not good enough. We're not getting our money's worth at all from our taxes, if you want to look at it that way,
I mean, do you worry too about if there's another event convincing Michael that he needs to go to hospital? Because after that experience...
You see, this is it. He's already had that experience. Let's say, and, it's inevitable at this point probably that he will get another infection. And what am I going to do? So I'm the sort of baddie, because I have to make that decision. I have to say, look at Michael, we have to go to A&E again, I have to sort of inflict that suffering on him, and that's not fair, and sometimes, it would sort of flicker through your head, will I just leave him where he is and see how this goes? Do you know,
that's
isn't it
so
terrible that you're in that dilemma?
It is terrible, Grania, but it's so real, because I've had this conversation with people, more than one.
I'm sure you've had.
And it is that, would they be better off not going in, even that when you don't fully know what the consequences of that decision might be? I mean, it's a terrible situation we've found ourselves in here, isn't it?
It is, yeah. And it's not fair.
I mean, and can I just say, Grania, as well, and I recognise it, that it's very, 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 very difficult for you, because, as you say quite rightly, you're seen as the bad person, but you're just trying your absolute best. But you're the middleman, so to speak, and you're the firewall for the HSE to some extent, and it's tough on you. It really is, with everything else that you're going through, Grania. It really is.
It is. I mean, they just, like the nurse in ED said, well, I was like, well, what should I do you think? And of course, they can't tell you what to do, so they're kind of, well, it's up to you. And everybody says that, well, it's up to you. Well, it's up to you, And, it is up to me, and it's an awful pressure. And there are more people, caregivers like me, that are under that same pressure, And it's avoidable. I just think it's so avoidable, It doesn't have to be that way.
But
and
also,
I feel that
too, Grania, if I'm reading it correctly, it's not like, I'm sorry, tonight's particularly bad, or I'm sorry, we've had to introduce this measure because of this, that, or the other. It's almost as if to say, well, this is it. And now the staff have to work in this awful environment as well. But it's not like this is a once-off. There's nothing to suggest that you won't go through all of this again, God forbid, if you need to do this
Absolutely
in 2, 3,
not.
4 weeks. So it's not like a temporary problem you've stumbled across. You've actually just come face-to-face with the system that we have.
Yeah, I mean, that's my real fear now, Greg, and I'm not one to go on radio stations, but I mean, all that's going through my head at the moment is at the moment he's in the oncology ward. But all that's going through my head, what if this happens again and again and again? You know, how many times might this happen? How many times? And his lifespan has been extreme, like it's shortened, you know, there's no doubt about it. And this is how we're spending our time, you know. His time is too precious.
And
there's
another flip side to this as well, because I'm sure you'll probably end up, if not this time, the next time, having the conversation about him being discharged and you not fully satisfied that you won't be back there the following day because he's not ready to be discharged.
Exactly. Yeah, there's that as well. You know,
people do come across that, Grania.
Yeah, it can happen. I've heard of it. You know, but yeah. So there's a lot of fear and, you know, not knowing, and, you know, and I just think, I mean, I'm not alone here. I know I'm not, because unfortunately cancer is very common, you know. So I mean, what do we do? You know, I was talking to a nurse about this, and she said, like, look, we have to write the letters and we have to write the emails to the management and let them know that we're not happy with this. We want it changed. So I'm kind of calling on, you know, all family members, all caregivers that are going through cancer treatment and, you know, going through similar situations to write those letters, to write those emails and call for a change of policy. This is not on. You know,
Grania, listen, stay as strong as you can. It's a tough situation that you're going through, and Michael's such a young man as well. I'm so sorry that you've had that experience, but I appreciate you sharing it, because maybe even conversations like this will make a difference as well, and I'm sure that's your motivation. So best wishes to all of you, Grania, is all I can say, and I hope Michael gets out soon and is as healthy and pain-free as possible.
Okay, Greg, thanks very much.
Grania, pass on our best wishes, would you please? Thank you. That's Grania Brennan there from Gorta Hawk. Louise is online too. Louise, sorry for holding you, but as I suppose you can understand, I didn't want to rush Grania along. It's such an important issue. And
not at all, you're fine.
Okay, that's good. Thanks, Grania. Your experience is dealing with our health system as well. Can you talk us through?
To be honest with you, I just feel like I'm one of the people that shouldn't have been in A&E,
right.
As you were saying, like that, you know, people's been sent to A&E. I was sent down for a CT scan. The doctor said they thought that it was vertigo, and he's not sure it is vertigo. And rather than go through private, he says just go down and sit in A&E. I pay private health insurance. I'm working, you know, we're talking about tax and everything else. We all pay our tax. You go down, you pay your €60 in the doctor. And you're sitting I sat from 1:30 on Thursday until midnight. I'd seen a triage nurse, asked, is there any way, you know, I could come back? Or is there any other way that I didn't have to go through A&E? Because I could see the other people waiting was in serious pain. But no, I was just told to sit and wait.
And I think your situation was such that you were able to maybe observe around you the experience more, because you weren't there in an absolute emergency. What struck you?
Like no pain.
Yeah, what struck you, Louise?
First of all, there was children. There was babies sitting. There was about 3 newborns sitting waiting. I couldn't get up, and I've been speaking to these people as well, because, you know, you've 10.5 hours sitting there doing nothing. And they were like, we're just waiting to go through to paediatrics. We've been sent through A&E as well. There was a lot of elderly sitting with their feet. One of them was sitting with their foot black. It was obviously like he was in serious pain. He wasn't even given as much of the Panadol. There was another young fella, Oisin. He started in first year somewhere in Letterkenny, and he was actually at a physiotherapist. And his physio had said, no, you need an x-ray first of all before I even look at you. He was sitting from 3 o'clock to about 11 o'clock. Turned out he had actually a fracture as well. But the x-ray department was completely jam-blocked. There was not even a seat. When I went in at 1:30, there wasn't even a seat for anybody in the room.
And that's after you got the car parked?
That's after I actually... I had a ramper up on the side of a garden bed. I was driving for 30 minutes. There was people, I could see people moving the cones to get parked. I'm actually after only having a baby there 6 months ago, and it was the same when going into the maternity for your scans and everything. and I was told just send an email. I got an email address, send an email about the parking because the staff had the same situation.
Yeah.
You know, it's atrocious. It's like a third world system we have in this country.
So we've paediatrics, we've got maternity, we've got cancer patients all going through the ED.
Yeah, and you know, shout out to the staff. Like they're doing their damnedest. Like, but I don't know how we can change it. Like I'm only back from Australia. There, I was there for nearly 5 years. I was in the Northern Territory, and I mean it was Crocodile Dundee country, and their system. You know, everybody was scowling about how bad their health system is. There's a second to none in my eyes. You know, you go into a doctor's surgery in the middle of nowhere and you need an X-ray, an MRI or a CT scan. They have a clinic right next door. You know, you do pay extra for it, or if you have your health insurance, and you get it back at the end of the year in a way, and you've got your results within the hour.
Yeah.
Whereas we're told,
and you don't see the acute hospital, which is there to deal with the most severe emergencies. You're dealt with all in this sort of multidisciplinary health centre that's not the hospital as such.
Yeah. I left there at midnight there on Thursday. I called the doctors again the following day, and I asked, like, you know, there's absolutely no need for me to be in A&E. Can you not send me private? And the response I got from the doctor was, go back down again on Monday morning at 8 o'clock. There'll be a changeover of doctors because the private affiliate in Letterkenny is supposedly there's like a 4-week waiting list.
So, I mean, I have to ask the question, Louise, because it's as obvious as the nose on my face. You moved back from Australia. Are you regretting that?
I'll be honest with you, I'll be back in the morning. We haven't hung up our shoes. I have a lot of friends that's come back and they've left, and like I've got a 3-year-old and we have a 6-month-old, and you know, we have a lot of support here, family support, but I would never rule it out.
Yeah.
No way.
And it's that competing priorities, isn't it? It's the services, the general life, and then of course that family unit, which is lovely to have around you. Okay. Right, Louise, I hope you get sorted. Were you due back in this morning? Did you go?
I didn't. Listen, I'd rather I'm still not feeling the best. It's just whenever you're walking, you feel drunk, like completely lightheaded. It is dangerous, but I would rather wait the 4 weeks than have to sit down there again. It's terrible.
Okay, well, hopefully it's just you need your ear syringed or something, Louise. I'm not giving medical advice, but hopefully
we can survive it, but I feel so sorry for the other people down there. It's absolutely...
And I know you were listening to Grania there, and I mean, husband's 43 years of age is very, a very late
terrible,
stage and has limited time, she said, and the fear of...
And to spend it in a hospital.
Yeah.
You know, to spend that time in hospital when all she said that he needed was, you know, a drip for some pain relief and stuff.
Some antibiotics.
You know, it's terrible. Like, I'd love to know, is there anybody we can contact, or is there some sort of a petition, or, you know, is there anything that people can do? Like, I'm not one to come on a radio or anything like that, but something has to change, like.
Yeah, I don't know what we can do. To be honest with you. And again, and we'll reiterate it, Louise, you did already, we're standing with the staff and the doctors, and we're not criticising them, we're standing with them and saying, look, we recognise you should not be working in this environment as well. They know that, but I'd like to say it now and again, because people listening in might think, who don't listen regularly, might think we're criticising them, and we know we're not. This is the system that they are struggling to stay sane in. Okay, Louise, as I say, I do hope you feel better soon. It's nothing worse than that. I had a little bit of that myself at one point, and it's not pleasant, so hopefully you get sorted.
We'll survive it. Thanks.
All right, Louise,
Greg.
take care of yourself. All right, your calls and comments coming in, getting to those after this break.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
Shrink your bill with Double Savers at Dunn Stores. Save in the aisle with the ingredients for 5 meals for less than €25. That's everything you need for beef stir fry, fish finger wraps, chicken casserole, vegetable penne pasta and salmon teriyaki. All for €24.68 when you save with the till with a 5 off 25 grocery voucher. Find all the recipes on our website. Dunnes Stores. Always better value. Terms and conditions apply. Voucher can be used on next in-store grocery shop of €25 or more.
Are you tired of the gym? Get stronger in just 20 minutes per week with Fit20. Train once a week with a personal trainer in a climate-controlled gym. The surroundings are quiet and peaceful and the machines are spotless. We guarantee measurable results within 3 months or your money back. So what are you waiting for? Try Fit20 today. Visit fit20.ie to book your free session.
Curtains at Foy & Company, Letterkenny. Complete any room with our elegant and exquisite range of curtains designed to elevate your windows with sheer beauty. Whether you prefer classic patterns or contemporary designs, our curtain collection offers endless possibilities to complement your interior decor. Let our expert staff assist you in creating the living space you've always dreamed of. Call in and get a free interior design consultation this month at Foy & Company, Letterkenny.
I've just had the Eclipse Cinemas experience. Wow, they truly have taken a night at the movies to a whole new level. Amazing recliner chairs, director's lounge VIP rooms, pizza and hot food served to your seat. Have a glass of wine and enjoy the film on the big screen. Try it for yourself at Eclipse Cinemas, Bundoran and Lifford Strabane, where the stars shine brighter. By the way, the pizzas are amazing. You can book your seat anytime at eclipsecinemas.ie.
The County Donegal Blackface Sheep Breeders Association annual female sale of cast ewes, hoggets and ewe lambs will take place in Ballybuffet and Stranorlar Mart on Wednesday the 13th of September at 6 p.m. 3 ewe lambs will be sold on the day in aid of the Donegal Hospice. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Take a step toward a new career at the Zeus recruitment event in Letterkenny this Saturday. Available positions include maintenance, electrical and machine shop technicians, process engineers, production operators and quality inspectors. Meet hiring managers and speak directly to the company to find out what's on offer. All at the Zeus recruitment event this Saturday, the 16th of September from 10 to 4 in the Clanry Hotel, Letterkenny.
How we use electricity can be smarter, cleaner and greener. At Electric Ireland, we can help guide you there. You see, our new Net Zero Hub has all you need to know about smart meter plans, home EV charging, solar panels and much more. Making your usage clearer, your trips greener, your home cozier and your world brighter. Find our Net Zero Hub at electricireland.ie.
Fancy a game of bingo? Play at Strand Bingo, Strand Road, open 7 days a week. Free bus every Tuesday from Letterkenny, stopping at Manor Cunningham, Newton Cunningham and Killay. Contact Marley Coaches for more information. Play Tuesdays from just £5 for 6 chances to win £300 with free food available. Check out boyledbingoclub.com or download our app for more info.
Experience an unforgettable night with the Tumblin' Paddies as they launch their new album at the Mount Derrygill Hotel on Saturday, September 16th. Doors open at 9 p.m. with DJ Kieran Cannon. The Tumblin' Paddies will be on stage from 10 p.m. till midnight. Don't miss this massive night of entertainment with the Tumblin' Paddies at the Mount Derrygill Hotel. Tickets on Eventbrite or pay at the door.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Some of your messages coming in here. Oh, Greg, that poor family with their ED experience. What can we do today to change this dire situation? Are the politicians listening? People say the system needs changing, but where do you even start? It seems it's like trying to turn a huge ship around. The tape of the interview with Grania should be played to all the thinkings the political parties are having this week. Best wishes to Grania and her husband. I hope he's in better form today. And listen, it's very important taxation's looked at USC. It's very important that if people who are working or even manage to get a pay rise, that they get the benefit of that and they're not taxed to the hilt on it. But that being said, it would be lovely if some of the conversation at these things were, well, what can we do actually to improve the ED situation? What can we do about services for people in need? But the problem is, as you see, it probably wouldn't make the front of the Irish Independent or the Irish Times. And that's the facts. That doesn't mean it shouldn't be talked about. Right. Barry Breslin's president of the ATU, Letterkenny Students' Union. He's with us now. Barry, how are you getting on?
Not too bad. Yourself, Greg?
I'm good. Thanks for joining us. We talk about this regularly, and I make no apologies about talking it again, because I just hope that maybe someone who's sitting on a bus with their headphones on, or a mum or dad, will pass on the information. Many, particularly students, are getting caught out by the temptation of easy money, in inverted commas, and are being effectively conscripted as money mules. And it's not a hard thing to fall into. Let's just call it as it is.
Yes, absolutely. So agree with yourself there. Simply raising awareness of this issue, because so many people aren't aware of the danger of it all. We have seen 50% increase on it as of on last year. Just seen an article there in the paper over the weekend there. So what we've been doing to try and tackle this on our end, we have a contact with Gardaí Síochána, and we had them in multiple occasions there last year, coming in and giving their kind of standpoint of how they had dealing with it. We've also had Maureen Crawford, the solicitor up the town there as well. She came in because she herself has come forward like, this is an issue. Like, I have your students in coming to me here dealing with this, and they simply don't realise the seriousness of it. Because like, you can get a criminal record from this here, and then that will have applications down the line. Say even with your studies, you want to take heading off into J1, if you have a criminal record, that makes it a lot more difficult.
And it's a money laundering criminal record as well, which but the one thing I'll say that's good that we're talking about it now is, as new students go into college. I remember I interviewed a senior guard in cybersecurity, and I think it was around November or December or sometime, and I says, it was a campaign. I says, well, why don't you run these campaigns when new students are going back into college? You know what I mean? Because they're a fresh crop of victims, effectively, for these people. Anyway, so it's great we're talking about it now. Can you talk us through what normally happens, what lines are normally spun, and what's normally offered to particularly students, I suppose, from the perspective of this conversation?
Yeah, so essentially what's going to happen is some people can be sent into college, as I say, just to be, like I say, almost disguised as a student, simply there to recruit. There to, hey, befriend someone, hey, grand, usually get a rapport going, and then it's like, hey, sure, look, I might have this here thing happening. If you don't taking care of it, sure, and sure, look, if your friend asks for help out, chances are you're going to you say, sure, I'll go on anyway. But yeah, just simply being enlisted in illicit activities, and you don't realise what you're getting yourself into, and sure, it may start off as a once-off job, and then sure, it keeps going from there, and then you're caught, and that's you. And
sometimes they will sort of say, look, my money's, I'm buying a car, my account's been locked or something like that there. Can I lodge the 10 grand into your account and then you withdraw it for me? So, but as the guards say themselves, ignorance is not a defence. If you are found to have been complicit in that, even if they spun you a line, you could still be faced with, the prospect of that conviction.
Yeah, if the evidence is there, there's no two ways about it. But as casual as possible, just so simply that you don't think twice about it. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with here. I'm simply helping out a mate. They need something done. Yeah, sure, I can see what I can do for them. So yeah, just taking advantage of your innocence in a way.
Yeah. All right. Okay. So just be warned. Quick one while I have you, Barry. What's the buzz with accommodation around Letterkenny and trying to deal with that at the moment?
It's coming out of both angles. Lucky enough, we do have people coming forward from such as yourself, people get raise awareness of the issue. But like I said, people are still looking for more and more. We had nothing there on a Friday week ago. We have people coming across that I want to get on for accommodation with some of my students, and they haven't even sat their mocks yet. People a year ahead of time, but that's just the landscape we're dealing with. But still, people have a room. We're always taking in applications. So, please don't be afraid to give us a shout. And
what Barry's referenced there is the government initiative whereby you can give a room over to a student's old-fashioned digs. People might know it as, and even if you're on benefits or supports like that there, it doesn't interfere with that. Have you any idea what the shortfall might be, Barry, just off the top of your head? I know it's impossible to get an accurate figure, but I mean, is it hundreds?
I'd say so, easily. I know we've a lot of more people say come from the surrounding area and now choosing ATU as a college.
So they can commute home.
So commute home simply so they have a place. Now, it mightn't have been what they had in mind, but simply that's just what we're doing at the moment. But we're doing the best we can, and if you do have any issues, our number's always here. We're always on the phone, so please do not afraid to give us a shout.
All right, okay. No harm mentioning that whilst we have it on. We might link that that link from the ATU in case anyone wants more information about helping out with a room. All right, Barry, thank you very much indeed. Barry Breslin there, president of the ATU Letterkenny Students' Union. Okay, back to some more of your comments. Greg, I've messaged about Grania and Michael's situation. It's been 3 years since we lost our father and brother to cancer within a 3-month period. This going through the ED policy is scandalous. So, sorry, Grania, but well done for speaking out. This is not good enough. And just, listener, when you went through this with your father and brother, did they also have to go through ED, or was there a different policy in place? If you don't mind, just giving us a buzz back or texting back just so I get a full grasp of the situation. Another caller says, this is ongoing on a daily basis. People in pain, morning, noon and night, and our councillors and government are doing nothing. It's a disgrace. Another, everyone should go on strike. The issue has to be addressed. Every business, schools, companies should gather at Letterkenny Hospital and demand change, because what are our very own councillors doing? But I mean, the councillors are on talking about this as well. Again, it's not my job to defend councillors, but at the same time, you know, there are councillors that represent Donegal on the regional health forum, and they go to these regional health forums and they sit down in front of the HSE and they say, this is an absolute dire situation. What are you going to do about the hospital, and so on and so forth? Beyond that, they don't have any power to do anything. And I genuinely believe the councillor has standing with the people. Could do more to raise awareness, perhaps. But my point is that in terms of what they could actually do in terms of passing a motion, changing legislation, they are powerless to some extent. But maybe it is time that people got together and organised something and say enough is enough. Stand with the staff down there. You know, I don't think these things don't work if it's a political party that organise it, because what happens then is that people of a different political party tend not to attend. But maybe now is now the time. Cancer patients should not have to sit in the ED with people with lots of infections. They should be able to get through to on the oncology ward, and it's as simple as that. Can Michael avail of community paramedic instead of the ED, asks another caller. I think Granny will have gone through all of that, but we can certainly pass that on. Nothing has changed since 2007. They were supposed to change this. I had to go through the ED in 2007, when I was a cancer patient. So thank you. That's answered that question. In 2007, a listener was going through the ED. Was it as busy at that time, though? When are people in Donegal taken to the streets? We are the forgotten county. And with our healthcare system, it really shows. Let's make a difference ourselves, because it is clear our government aren't going to do this for us. Greg, I was a cancer patient 4 years ago. I lay in the ED for 16 hours before getting a bed. One of the times I was sent to the ED with high blood pressure, and the triage nurse was going to send me straight home until I mentioned chemo. She didn't even know I had cancer. I personally think they should have a way of knowing this, but also I don't understand why cancer patients have to go through the ED and not straight to oncology. I had to ring oncology for them to tell me, you need to come into hospital. We'll ring through to the ED, but it never made a difference to waiting times. Again, that's another person suggesting that this isn't a particularly new problem. That's 4 years ago, and we had someone 16 years ago in the same boat. That lady is best write to the complaints officer and meet them face to face, not call or email them face to face and demand to see them. I had to do this with my own husband, and the system has to change. I know exactly how she feels. It's disheartening, scary, and to see your husband terminally ill and fading away, I'll never forget it. The staff want us to be there, but they need to be supported by management. And as I say, you know, this is your platform as well. We can make change. We do make change. And if you feel you want to share your story and come on and tell your story, it's not for content purposes, because we've loads of stuff to talk about. It's in terms of, you know, getting the messages out there. A caller says, I'm just sitting open-mouthed. My husband was seriously ill last year and it was bad then, but I really fear if he or any of us, for that matter, needs to go back to hospital. Just so sad. Small wonder people are leaving in their droves. For it was, if I was young or we had papers, I think we'd be out of here too, and that's something I thought I'd never say. That's how some people feel when they have to engage with the health service. And I feel so sorry for Grania because she's clearly a young person herself as well, and her husband's just 43. And it's tough enough to have to deal with what they're going through. But that, on top of that, fighting the system for basic health care, I mean, we're not really conditioned to be able to cope with that kind of stuff. And it's amazing that she is. Management in the ED is not great. Sat from 3 to 12 next day to get a hand x-ray. I think you also need to make sure they're doing x-rays. I think some people sit there waiting when there's no x-rays actually taking place. Listening to your caller on about the health system, the broken ED, jammed, etc. But we still continue to take people in from other countries. Government are playing a dangerous game with people's health, both our citizens, hospital staff and the refugees. When are they going to manage this properly? The whole thing is going to crash and burn very shortly. See, this is the problem. This is a bit of I think I respect your view. It's a bit of a distraction. I mean, how many of the people in the ED are refugees? How many people working in the hospital are from outside the country? I don't think that... I mean, there's certainly pressure on the entire health system, but it's a bit of a pass. We're hearing from people in 2007 waiting for 15 hours to get seen when they had cancer in the ED. So, you know, we don't want to take our eyes off the prize. It sounds like we end up, rather than focusing and talking about what we can fix about health, we're sort of saying, well, let's not talk about that. Let's talk about another thing and say that that's what's causing the problems. But it's a much bigger historic problem but I fully respect your view. But I really think when we start talking about different issues then and blaming it, we really are sort of giving people who make these decisions and have for generations a pass.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
At Screwfix, you can click and collect over 10,000 trade products in as little as 1 minute. So whether it's a power drill in Portlaoise or guttering in Galway, when you need it yesterday, just click at screwfix.ie and collect at your local store 7 days a week. T's and C's apply. Visit screwfix.ie for full details.
The Loganair Big Take-Off Sale is now on. Fly from City of Derry Airport to London Heathrow and more. Save up to 15% off over 2 million seats during our biggest ever sale. Or get a whopping 20% off if you're a Clan Loganair member. Hurry, book by the 12th of September. Travel from the 2nd of October. Subject to availability, exclusions apply. Promo code required. See loganair.co.uk. Loganair, for all the times.
Keep out the cold, cold, cold! And ring Fleming for their full range of garage doors, agri doors, insulated doors, milking parlour doors. Fleming, 91 48 234.
In the next 15 seconds, you're going to find out where is the best place in the Northwest to buy a bed or mattress. It's Restex Beds and Furniture Mountaintop, Letterkenny, where comfort meets style.
Donegal Denture Clinic, Letterkenny. Denture problems? We can help. At Donegal Denture Clinic, we customise, personalise and tailor your dentures to suit you. Call us for a free consultation on 91 25 25 3. Find us at Ballyrain, Letterkenny, beside Rossin College. Medical cards welcome. For all your denture needs, call Donegal Denture Clinic on 91 25 25 3. Online at donegaldentureclinic.ie.
Enter the Virgin Media Playhouse and unleash our best offers. It's time to play with our €100 gift voucher to spend your way when you choose full fibre 500 meg broadband for just €39 a month for 12 months and no activation fee. So switch today at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. It's playtime.
T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie. Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 500 meg broadband. €70 thereafter. Ends October 11th, 2023.
Live, on air, online and on the Highland Radio app. This is Highland Radio News.
Good morning, I'm Michaela Clark with the news at 10 o'clock. The chair of Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Redress Committee has hit out at the local authority and the housing department over the slow pace at which defective concrete block homes are being remediated. The council is waiting the go-ahead from the department to carry out works on 60 social homes for almost 2 years now. Meanwhile, private homeowners who have submitted applications under the revised defective concrete block grant scheme are still waiting months to be granted permission and funding to fix their properties. Councillor Marshall McDermott says serious questions need to be answered over application timelines as homeowners have waited long enough.
These are things that we did put to the department and clearly they didn't listen. The department officials sometimes think that they know better than what we know here on the ground, living it, breathing it, eating it every day of the week. When it comes to the reality, I think we know what works and what doesn't work, and some of the stipulations that they've put in place just doesn't work, and it's making the process too slow, and it's something that really needs to be clarified and sorted very urgently because people can't wait any longer.
Local authority staff are engaging in industrial action indefinitely from today. Employees who are represented by the Forced Trade Union are refusing to carry out engagements with politicians. The union is calling for better pay and conditions for staff who they say are working above their pay grade. Conor Brown, who was murdered in Castlederg last week, is to be laid to rest today. The 28-year-old from the Strabane area was stabbed in Castlederg's main street on Saturday, September the 2nd, and passed away in hospital a number of days later. His funeral mass will take place at 12 noon in St Francis of Assisi Church, Drumna Bay. 2 men appeared in court last week charged with Conor's murder. The Public Expenditure Minister says people on average wages will benefit from changes to taxation in the budget. It follows reports cuts to the universal social charge are under consideration. USC was introduced during the recession in 2010 and applies to anyone earning above $13,000 a year. Pascal Donoghue says the Finance Minister Michael McGrath has yet to finalise his plans.
The key thing is that we deal with the issue of those who are on a normal average wage within our country paying high rates of marginal taxation. Other budgets that I have done, including in supply and confidence, have included changes in both USC and personal taxation in terms of tax credits, and I know Minister McGrath will consider all these matters and bring forward proposals soon.
A Donegal senator says Europe is very important to Donegal. Senator Niall Blaney in recent days confirmed his intention to run as one of Fianna Fáil's candidates for the Midlands North West constituency in next year's European Parliament elections. His party colleague Senator Lisa Chambers has also announced her intention. Senator Blaney says given the county's relationship with Northern Ireland, a voice in Europe is vital.
I think it's really important given our location. Given our proximity to Northern Ireland, I think it's very important that we have that representation to look after their interests, whether it be from the point of view of lack of infrastructure that we've always found hard to keep up with the rest of the country, and not just Donegal, the whole Midlands North West, or most of the Midlands North West region are on a similar footing.
Over half of the children and young people referred to the Child and Adolescent Mental Health Services are refused access in certain parts of the country. An analysis by the Irish Independent shows around 4,000 of the referrals to CAMHS last year were not accepted by the HSE, with the refusal figure increasing by 10% in the past 3 years. It also points towards a so-called postcode lottery, with the number not being accepted varying dramatically depending on where they live. In the CHO1 area, which includes Donegal, over 30% of those referred to CAMHS have been refused access this year. That figure has grown year on year from just under 20% in 2020. Weather now cloudy this morning with scattered outbreaks of rain becoming gradually drier and brighter through the day. Highest temperatures of 15 to 18 degrees. That's all from Highland Radio News for now. We'll be back with an update again at 11 o'clock. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website highlandradio.com. Good morning. The obituary notices for this Monday morning, September the 11th. The death has taken place of Elizabeth Bessie Heaps, née Arthur, Rye Mockey, Manor Cunningham. Bessie's remains will be reposing at her late residence this afternoon from 2 o'clock until 9 o'clock. Funeral from there on Tuesday afternoon at 1:30, going to Rye Mockey Parish Church, Main Street, Manor Cunningham, for funeral service at 2 o'clock. Interment afterwards in the adjoining graveyard. House private on the morning of the funeral, please. The death has occurred of Philip McLaughlin, Bar, Bury, Manchester, England, formerly Leafin, Linsford, Buncrana, County Donegal. Funeral to take place on Thursday, September the 21st at St Bernadette's Church, Whitefield. And the death has occurred of David White, Ran Letterkenny. Funeral service this afternoon at 2 o'clock in Trinity Presbyterian Church, Upper Main Street, Letterkenny, with burial afterwards in Gortley Cemetery. House is strictly private at all times, please. For more details, including any family health guidelines for wakes and funerals, please go to highlandradio.com.
There's nothing quite like a McDelivery in your own home, or eating a quarter pounder with cheese in your PJs. There's nothing like tucking into a box set with a Big Mac, or delving into your secret stash of dips, then dunking a McNugget in 3 of your favourite sauces. 'Cause what you do in your home is your business. There's nothing quite like a McDelivery. Order now in the Uber Eats or Just Eat app. At participating restaurants only. Serving times and delivery fees apply. See Uber Eats or Just Eat for full details.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
And you're very welcome back to the programme. Good morning if you are just after joining us. Lots of you messaging in and lots of love for Grania and Michael in particular following our conversation in the first hour of the show. Let's get to some of your opinions. What an awful story from Grania. My husband died 26 years ago, very young. We were treated humanely in Letterkenny that time. Would have been taken immediately to oncology department. Many times, what's happened? They've gone backwards very much since then. Another same situation 7 years ago, sitting with my terminally ill mother in the ED in agony for several hours. Again, this is 7 years ago. Why is management never assessed in regard to the efficiency of the hospital? I've never heard of a hospital manager being demoted or dismissed for poor performance. A football manager or a company CEO would be out on their ear if they didn't meet targets. That being said, this is a national situation, and believe it or not, of course, not believe it or not, it's a fact because we've spoken to Mr. Murphy. He is also advocating for more resources, more recruitment, more money for the hospital as well, as the rest of the management team. Just for balance there, that's what's the reality is. What an awful story from Grania, says another listener. Greg, there are only 11 beds on the oncology ward. That's what you're dealing with there. Okay, thank you for that. My son had a heart issue and waited 3.5 hours for an ambulance from Buncrana to Letterkenny. He was put into ED and had to wait a further 4 hours. A heart issue. As a parent, I was terrified. So 7.5 hours before the son was seen. Not sure what age they are, but 7.5 hours. So waited 3.5 hours for the ambulance and then a further 4 hours in the ED. So you can imagine what mum or dad were feeling there up to high dough. At Ballabafay near Bank of Ireland, there's an unmarked crossing which will eventually cause an accident. I witnessed a girl who got out of her car to cross the road and nearly got struck by a lorry. We constantly address this issue, but nothing happens. I did as much as I can at that time because I knew that, God forbid, if anyone happened, I wanted a clear conscience. I did as much as I could at the time that those were introduced to highlight that particular crossing. And in fact, I've witnessed on definitely 2 occasions myself, someone nearly being wiped out by a lorry. Even the former Donegal road safety officer had his concerns, but still it's there. And if someone is knocked down and killed, will it change? Probably. Should we have to wait for that to happen before something changes? No. A caller says it's a disgrace that people who are very sick, cancer patients, should not have to go through AED. What is going on? They're saying they shouldn't have to go through ED there, of course. And on to a couple of different things now. Vaping in enclosed areas is getting a joke. This is not fair on the non-smoker breathing in toxic fumes. Do you see that a lot? Is it something that bothers you? Share your stories. 086 60 25,000. The Polestar roundabout. God help the drivers who can't use a roundabout when there isn't any traffic lights. There is 3 sets of lights to go through if you're coming from the Dry Arch Road and you're heading at the Melton Road. Indeed, is it 3 or not more? It's going to be interesting. I'm going to be fascinated to see when those lights are switched on, what goes on there. So also last week on Friday or Thursday, we were speaking to a mum or dad, a parent anyway, I know that for a fact, who their child was not being asked or told, or seatbelt wearing was not being enforced on the school bus, and they were careful about that. They were worried about that. And the question was being asked, should they take it up with the driver first, or should they take it up with the company? I suggested the company, even mentioning it to the driver rather than going above their head just to get a lay of the land. But anyway, a bus driver was on just after that conversation and pointed out what's kind of obvious, I suppose. As a bus driver, bus drivers are not allowed to put seatbelts on a child. They can advise, but with safety protocols now, they're not allowed to go near the child. It's up to the parent to inform and educate. So the driver can say, right, everyone, seatbelts on, but they can't go up and put the seatbelt on. And there is a clear role here with parents to inform and educate their children, they say. I went to Maynooth and we got the campus accommodation. We had 3 laptops on the go and 2 phones. The accommodation was very poor. Mushrooms growing in the bathrooms. The maintenance came in and picked them. Well, that's one way to pick mushrooms. Can't it be compulsory to wear a high-vis vest? To see many people walking at night, barely visible. I don't know if should it be compulsory? I'm not a big fan of more laws and stuff, right? When we can sort of employ our common sense. But if a lot of people are out walking and don't have high-vis, I don't know, the guards will pull over, and if they've got them in the boot, say, will you stick that on? I mean, they can't enforce it as such unless there's a clear and present danger, I'd imagine, but still. Right, okay, we are going to take the bingo numbers now, and then we have loads more guests and topics. Get yours and your views into us. I'll remind you one more time, shall I, of the numbers. I try not to do it so often because I know so many of you are regular listeners and are so familiar with them, but there's people tuning in all the time. So your WhatsApps and your texts, it's the one number here, and it always has been, 086 60 25,000, 086 60 25,000. If you're listening to us in Derry, Tyrone, or elsewhere, 00353 60 25,000. Your telephone calls again, 074 91 25 000 91 25,000. Again, from outside the Republic, 00353 7491 25,000. And emails from anywhere. Comments at highlandradio.com. All right, back shortly.
It's time for NCBI Bingo on Highland Radio.
It's Monday, the 11th of September. You're playing on the green sheet. The reference number is S1. It's game number 37. The numbers are 10, 60, 78, 45, 35, 61, 40, 7, 33, and finally 67. Phone your claim to 9104833 before 8 tonight, leaving your name, contact number and the name of the shop where you purchased your book, and we'll call you back the next working day. Get all your NCBI bingo information at highlandradio.com.
Sale, sale, sale. With over €150,000 of reductions across all used stock. This is not to be missed. Test drive any car at iMotors and enter a draw to win €1,000 cash. Yes, €1,000 cash to take a test drive. Ends September 16th. When you buy, choose one of the following offers: 12 months tax, free ceramic coating, 24 months warranty, or your first finance payment covered by us. Low finance rates available. Check our website for all T's and C's. You will not want to miss out. Visit imotors.ie for more details.
Transform your home with a visit to McGinley's Furniture, Letterkenny, located at the Portlink Business Park just off the Port Road. You'll find a huge selection of top quality suites, beds and mattresses, also slide robes and custom-made dining and occasional furniture, with prices to suit every budget. See the great choice for yourself at our showroom, McGinley's Furniture, Portlink Business Park, Port Road, Letterkenny. Click mcginleysfurniture.com.
The Red Door Country House. Are you searching for a wedding venue different from all the rest? Where the idyllic Lost Swilly views last long into the evening? Where the landscape grounds and country house are exclusively yours for the day? Look no further than multi-award-winning venue, the Red Door Country House in Fawn. Wow your family and friends with the impeccable food, setting and service for up to 160 wedding guests. View thereddoor.ie/weddings for more information, or come along to our wedding showcase on Saturday 16th of September from 12 to 3 p.m.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
OK, so as we've been covering now for a week or two in the programme, parents with children under the Children's Disability Network team across Donegal have received letters explaining they may lose out on services due to recruitment and vacancy issues. The letter outlined that children with the most complex needs in terms of speech therapy, occupational therapy and psychology services will be prioritised. And then we heard from a series of parents in relation to that. And then we had a further conversation on Thursday about really what kind of effort is being put in to recruit people in these disciplines, between yearly panels and jobs being hard to find and so on and so forth. So we're continuing with that conversation now. Laura McGuinness joins us on the programme now. Laura, thanks for your time this morning. I do appreciate it.
Hi, Greg. Thanks.
No, thanks for helping us to keep this on the agenda. Laura, what's your family situation?
My eldest boy, Reese, he's 7 now. He was born with a rare syndrome. So he's been under the CDNT team from, I think he was 2-3 months old. But it's literally just getting worse and worse as the months go on. The latest problem is, like, Reese, we all got them letters, and Reese would be classed as severe. Like, he's under loads of teams in Crumlin and Letterkenny, and like his neurology department would recommend, especially for his muscle issues, that he gets physio at least once a month. And it's on going about a year now since he's seen physio.
And this is the type of stuff that needs to be consistent and ongoing for his best outcomes, Laura?
Yeah, oh yeah.
In terms of speech and language,
yeah,
what's the situation there?
Non-existent. Reese, actually, well, he's in a special unit, so he is in the local school.
Right.
But he would be in second class now, but it actually got to the stage where the school had to come up with a communication plan through PECs and different things. Like, they made up their own plan for him because, well, the speech therapist finally came out at Easter time to see the teacher, finally. So he was about 3.5 years in the school at that stage. But pretty much I've not heard nothing since either.
And again, it's like all the stories we hear, the best outcome for our children is when they get these services as early as possible and with some level of consistency.
Yeah. No, definitely, because even his neurologist, like, Reese's syndrome is extremely rare, but the kids that are in, like, England, America, they're far miles ahead of Reese. And the kids in Ireland, like, there's only, I think, 4 or 5 in Ireland with Reese's syndrome, but these kids are completely behind on everything. Like, Reese didn't walk till he was just turned 6, and now, like, his hips and everything, like, we're waiting on a wheelchair now as well the past 7 months because he's outgrown the one he's in at the minute. But, like, his hips and his back is starting to get affected now as well. But it's just the whole, across the board, has just gotten a joke now. I think everyone's just had enough of it now. And
I'm not trying to pull at the heartstrings or anything, but I really want us all to understand, Laura, from a parent's perspective, and the challenge of raising Reese as well. Listen, you know, I'm sure he's a brilliant boy, but it's a challenge for you. But when you sort of see children in similar situations far in advance of him, just because of where they live, it must be really, really tough as a mum.
No, definitely. I say if Reese had been, and even doctors and nurses that do care for Reese, says if Reese had been given the actual early intervention, what he was meant to have had, he probably, like, he would still be disabled in every way, but he would have far more better life skills. Like, even the basics of getting Reese to feed himself, he was doing it great, but with his syndrome, it is progressive, so his skills do lack backwards. If he is sick, he regresses backwards. So it's like he's had multiple surgeries, and even getting a physio to come out to the house and do physio. Like, Crumlin couldn't believe how bad it was up here at one stage. Just the basics that any child, never mind a sick child, should get, just doesn't happen anymore.
I think you also mentioned to Donna Marie about respite or the lack thereof.
Yes.
What's the situation there, Laura?
Well, Reese was approved like for a weekend or a few days during the week respite, probably, I think it was at least 2 years ago. But the local one in Inishowen and down in Carndon, Riverwalk, I think it's called, is still closed off to the patients. I think they're on about reopening it now soon, but he is on the list for Ballymacool. But as you probably know, Greg, Ballymacool can hardly keep up with the Letterkenny area, getting people in, never mind taking on the Michonne kids as well.
Yeah, I've had that from another parent before saying the exact same thing, indeed. Yeah, there's a line here, and I think it came from you, Laura. Another generation of disabled kids and parents destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a shocking thing to be able to say.
Yeah, because I was talking to a mum in the town. Her daughter now is probably in her 40s, disabled as well, and she says things have literally not changed in all the years.
I was chatting to a family over the weekend, and they said one of the greatest problems they have is if anything happens to them, because they're there and they're able as much as you can to battle for the children, but this lady she says, well, what happens if I get cancer, or what happens if I, she said something, I won't say it on air, but in other words, she died really quickly, a car crash actually. Well, I don't think there's any harm in saying that. She went to bed scared as to what would happen to her children if something happened to her, because she doesn't feel...
Yeah, because, I know of parents, she's actually had to not have a surgery, because if the child was put into emergency accommodation, the child could be sent anywhere to Sligo, Mayo, anywhere. There's no places local for emergency accommodation for kids now at the minute.
Right, it's tough. This is something we all need to take an interest in, Laura, don't we? Because there are, as I said before, there are hundreds, thousands of families around the region affected by this, but it's hard to get everyone on the same page to sort of, this is what I'm trying to do here, to let maybe the powers that be or the general population realise that so many people are being affected now. Some severely affected, others not so, but all of the children need the interventions as early as possible for a variety of different reasons. Oh yeah, definitely. Best wishes to everyone, Laura. Thanks you, very Greg. Much for helping us highlight the situation. I really do appreciate it, and no bother, Greg. Thanks. And the rest. Okay, take care of yourself. Stephanie's with us as well. Stephanie, good morning to you. How are you keeping?
Hey, Greg. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Okay. What's the situation with your daughter? I think it is.
Yeah, my daughter Rhea. She was born in 2018. And everything seemed great when she was born, but as time went on, we started noticing different wee things. She wasn't making eye contact, wouldn't respond to her name, things like that. She was delayed in her milestones. So in 2019, October, her PHN referred her to early intervention, it was at the time. We waited then until April 2021.
Can I just ask a question, Stephanie, before you go on? You know when you got the letter saying, right, she's being referred, at that time did you think, okay, now we're making progress, we know there's an issue and now we're being referred to professionals to deal with that? Like, almost naively, did you feel like, right, we're making progress here, before then it became apparent that the wheels move so slowly?
Yeah, well, our PHN did make us aware that there would be a slight waiting list, but overall it wouldn't be that long. Maybe 6 months to 8 months, she said at the time. But it was a year and a half later before we were actually called. So we had our first assessment, and with early intervention, you have to meet the criteria of needing at least 3 services. So with that assessment, Rhea met the criteria for the 3 services, which was occupational therapy, speech and language, and psychology. So with that, we then got what you call a service statement. And basically on that service statement, it tells you when to expect to start receiving all these services. So for occupational therapy, we were given a date of December 2022. And for psychology, we were given a date of New Year's Eve on 2022 as well. So I instantly knew there was no way she was going to be seen on New Year's Eve. It just wasn't going to happen. Now, to this day, she still hasn't seen OT or psychology. So once that time went on, we hadn't seen these services, so I made a formal complaint to the disability team. And that was in May 2022. And in July 2022, they contacted me back to say that a recent High Court ruling in March 22 stated that the early intervention assessment approach used in our child's assessment did not meet the requirements of the Disability Act. So therefore, we had to start the process all over again and get Ria reassessed. So in November 2022, they finally called us to reassess her. And again, she met the requirements needed. And within a week of that, they phoned me and asked me would I be willing to make a trip to a private clinic in Belfast to get Ria assessed. So I jumped at the opportunity and took it. So in January of this year, Ria was diagnosed with autism, level 1. And she was referred by the Belfast Clinic for occupational therapy and speech and language. Now, Ria did have 4 sessions of speech and language back in 2022. And after them 4 sessions, we were starting to see progress.
Oh, really?
And then Ria can talk, but she finds it very hard to understand. And she has a different meaning from words to what we would. And things like pronunciation and things like that she needed help with. So we were starting to see some progress. And then on the 4th session, we got told that they had to leave it there as there was other children they needed to see. And they would call us back in 6 months. That was a year and a half ago. So since Ria's diagnosis in January, we have yet to be contacted by EIT about anything.
You, like hundreds of other families, got a letter through the post last week or the week before.
Yes, to say that there is no available psychologist or occupational therapist available in Donegal, and that any child that needs speech and language, it'll only be the severe children that will be seen. So that's basically where we're at the moment. It's a constant fight.
And that's dashed hope, right? Because there's no. I mean, they say we're trying this and we're trying that, but we've learned from Leonard Watson and others that since we talked about this, I've been contacted personally, and we're going to speak to a couple of them, by 4 or 5 people who are either qualified or want to work in the area of OT, speech and language and what have you, but they can't get in here. So they're having to go to Britain.
I personally know one girl that has all the qualifications, and they will not employ her.
So we can't ignore that, Stephanie. This is a reality. No. So they're screaming out for staff, right? We know people that are available to work and want to, but they can't get those jobs, and they're going over to the UK, who are obviously mopping them up because it's like Christmas for them.
Correct.
So what is the future? How does this change so that the anger, the frustration, the upset is relieved somewhat from some parents? Because there doesn't seem a great deal of hope here, and I hate to dash hope, but do you know where I'm coming from, Stephanie?
There's no hope. Like, for me, myself, and I can probably speak for many other parents, it is a constant fight, day in and day out. And anything you learn is from other parents or from Google or places like that. There is no help out there whatsoever. None. It's sad. They need a massive recruitment drive. But again, as you highlighted, there's no advertisements for any of these placements.
Now, I just want to say, whilst you're on, the HSE is actively recruiting at the moment for, and it just so happened I was on TikTok and Snapchat and going around different platforms, and I kept getting this advert. Have you thought about a career in the HSE? We're currently recruiting for entry-level clerical officer positions. Now, clerical officers play a vital role in the health service, so this is not to say they're not pen pushers or what some people might call them. They're very important staff, and I recognise that, okay? And then there's a fancy video that follows this. I've seen nothing like that for OT. I've seen nothing like that for speech and language therapy. I could only find one CDNT job available in Donegal on the HSE's own website. Now, then someone said to me, but they're advertising these jobs on Facebook. What? Facebook?
No,
you know
I've
what I mean?
never.
So they are literally spending thousands upon thousands with Snapchat, TikTok and other trying to hire clerical officer positions, which is important and is connected to some industrial action that's ongoing. But where is the outside the box thinking to keep our OTs, our psychologists, and our all of our experts to keep them here or to recruit them to here? Nothing is happening that's in and people like you, Stephanie, I don't know, and I'm saying this right, I don't know how you do it. I genuinely don't know how you do it.
It's tough, and you feel like you're being ignored and no one's listening or no one believes you, or you just feel so isolated and alone. And it impacts the whole family. It's not just myself or my daughter. It's the whole family it impacts, and it's just, I have no words anymore. I don't. It's a sad reality that we're all facing together, and I really feel for the parents that have it tougher than I do. Like, we're blessed in a sense that Rhea can talk and she can try and express herself and things like that, but there's young kids out there that can't talk and need more help than Rhea does, and they're getting absolutely nothing. It's so sad.
Yeah, it is heartbreaking. It's so sad. And it's a crisis that we're living through now, that maybe there'll be a documentary or a book on in 20 or 30 years, the children that were left behind or forgotten, or however they might frame it or describe it. We're living in this now. Stephanie, you know, we are all together. I know you don't feel it, but we are with you as well with everything you're going through. I don't mean us at Highland. We are, of course. I'm on about the whole community listening, because I think we're starting to get this sort of awareness now and trying to get it out there so that people don't feel alone, Stephanie. And you've helped in doing that. And it's, you know what's so typical? Even with the terrible, and everything is relative, you want the best for your child like everyone does, but even in everything you're going through, you're still thinking of other people that are in a worse situation. And that's the type of people we are, and it's amazing. And best wishes to you and the family, and stay in touch with us.
Thank you, Greg.
Right.
Thank you for bringing attention to it. Thank you.
No,
Bye-bye.
It's critical. And I've posted more information and some interviews we've carried on this before on my Facebook page as well. There's a half-an-hour video there where we talk about access to mental health services and all. And I just want a quick word too about those that are working in this area, and I've spoken to them as well. This isn't a criticism of anyone, or even necessarily the local management of these services, who are working in very difficult situations themselves as well. There's always another layer above people, and this goes far beyond, I think, what's happening locally. And I hope I'm not wrong in saying that not unlike the situation with the hospital, this is not a criticism of the staff and the people working tirelessly and stretching themselves in the services. This is to support you guys as well, so that people who are higher up in higher pay grades, that will never lose their job no matter how bad things go, that maybe our politicians will get on board with this as well and put so much pressure on them that something has to be done. So it's not frontline staff versus us. I see it as all of us as a community with the frontline staff, trying to get them more colleagues, get them more supports, get them better conditions, and look and have a better opportunity to look after our children. So I hope that is clear in the coverage, but I just want to clarify that this is not a criticism of the staff or local management. This is about supporting families, kids and their parents. Katrina's back with us again. Katrina, thanks very much for joining us. I appreciate you coming back on the programme. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good. Now, you had a meeting, and Leonard Watson also attended this. This is Spree Agus Sport meeting. So what came from that, or what further information can you share with us?
So we contacted Spree. We have a monthly meeting the first Tuesday of every month, and that was last Tuesday, and there was 29 families in attendance. Spree are on board now to try and help the families in the area to see what they can do. They have a survey going out now to see what services we need in the area, and then Spree is going to go towards the HSE to apply for funding to see if they can facilitate the likes of, occupational therapy, speech therapy, physiotherapy, that stuff, and through Spree. Now, Albert was there at the meeting, as was Martin.
This is Albert Doherty and Martin McDermott, is it?
Yeah,
or in a town
they
council
were
or something.
there. Yeah, so they were there at the meeting, and they just sat back and they took notes, and like there was families there that everybody was in the same boat, Greg. Like, you know, at the end of the day, all we want is our children to have the best support going forward. But at the minute, the support's not there. And as I said to you before, the Friday I was talking to myself and Kathy, and I think it was Michelle. Do you know, like this is the vital part now where this needs to be early. It has. If it doesn't come early, Greg, it's delaying everything. It's delaying getting help from, you know, speech and language. It's delaying everything. It's a knock-on then. Like, if you need financial support and you don't have your diagnosis, it's harder to get that stuff. So, like, this is what we're trying to get the help for now. So that the family out there has the support that they need. And, like, Albert he spoke, this meeting is happening next month. I think there was a man on with you on Friday, Watson, I can't remember his first name.
Leonard Watson, yep.
Leonard was on, and I think it's the same meeting that's next month that Albert and Martin are going to go, and they took notes from the meeting in Spree on last Tuesday. So, like, we're just we're not backing down, Greg, is what I'm trying to say.
No,
like,
100%.
you know, we're not backing down, and like Spree are so good at, you know, they're going to do this survey now and see how they get on. Could they get funding from the HSE to run it down there if it's private? We don't know. We're just kind of trying to see how we get on, but we're not giving up, and we're going to keep going. And if, as I said, if it needs to be a case that we need to do, like, you know, I don't know, a picket or I don't know what the right word for that is, like
protest or a demonstration, or whatever way you want to describe it. Yeah,
we will do it.
Yeah,
like, and I said to you before, Greg, when you get into these services, like my wee boy Ben has happily started school there. He's nearly 2 weeks done now, coming on Wednesday, and he loves school and he's happy at school. But there's children, unless you have these diagnoses, it's harder for you to get into these
delays
schools
everything.
To get the help.
Yeah, it delays everything.
It delays everything, Greg. Like, and it really does. And I know I'm so lucky, but like going forward, like Ben still needs speech therapy. He still needs occupational therapy. He still needs all that there, but we can't get that now. Now, I have done courses with the girls up in Buncrana, and these courses are brilliant. But, like, there's families out there that they're just lost.
Yeah, and the courses are fine as well, but, like, you know, not everyone is going to have the time. You know, you could have two parents working, you could have a single parent situation where they have to work. Life is tough as it is with cost of living. They could be living in a defective concrete block house, for God's sakes. You know, so it's great if people can sort of tool themselves up and effectively become speech therapists themselves. But it's just not going to suit everyone. And even Spriaga Sport, brilliant organisation, they do fantastic work. But that's almost a desperate act in that, you know, they're saying, well, can we do some of this stuff because the HSE is not doing it? You know what I mean? It's not, like, that's not really the way it should be. And we see iCare and other groups, the Blue Stack Foundation, kind of having to do the same. If they weren't there, look at the services that would be lost if it wasn't for sort of, you know, independent organisations, often run and supported by families that are affected, doing this stuff. But it's a glimmer. Great. It's a glimmer, Spriaga Sport. I think even putting the application might shine a light on the situation we're in, Katrina. But we need something. We need some hope. We need a commitment. We need to see these jobs being advertised. As I say, I could only see one CDNT job on the HSE's website. I've seen no social media ads for it, but I've spoken to a lot of people who want to work in these jobs, but they can't get the jobs. And I know you talked last week, sorry, Katrina, about the cost of living. But some people aren't even getting the chance to go into the job and see if they can live because they're not able to connect to the jobs. And that's crazy. We're losing these valuable assets to other countries and regions. It's hard to comprehend, Katrina. You know better than anyone.
Do you know what, Greg? Like, it's just about, and I know there's families out there that are completely burnt out. I seen it at that meeting. Like, there was women there and men there, and they were just like, you know, we don't have the fights left. It's because they're fighting for so many years. I'm only on this journey this past couple of years, and that's why there's, like, if I wanted I will go after anything I can get. But I mean, you're just being met by, as a mammy said at the meeting, it's like being stuck in a maze. And you get so far, and then you're met by a block, and then you're like, you have to go back, and then you have to go another way, and you have to go. We shouldn't have to do this, Greg. We shouldn't, we really shouldn't. And once you get into these services, they're so good, but it's just getting in.
Yeah. The people on the ground are brilliant at what they do, and we heard earlier even 3 or 4 sessions improvements. The staff are great, but they're stretched, they're under pressure, and they need more colleagues, even maybe better conditions, but certainly more colleagues. Keep fighting, Katrina, and we'll chat again. And maybe it doesn't have to be 1,000 people, maybe 100 concerns, parents, mothers, whoever it might be. It would be hard to ignore.
It's just about, Greg, not giving up. And I know there's families out there that are just at their wit's end, but I'm just going, just dig that wee bit deeper. Come on, let's just keep pushing, because they're going to eventually have to start listening to us. We're not going away. We're not going away. We have to get this help, because our children are suffering, and it's just not fair, Greg. It's not fair.
Okay, Katrina, thanks for that as always. Katrina Devlin, take care of yourself. Love to the family. Thank you very much indeed. And I do recognise that there are some people listening that might go, are they talking about that again? But please bear with us. Please do. It's just really important that these parents get a voice and get a platform, and that's what we're providing. And this is our children. It could be my next child. It could be your next child. It could be your first. You know what I mean? So this is something that either affects us all directly now, it could affect us, or maybe affects us by 1 degree of separation. So appreciate your bearing with us on that. It's just so critically important, I think. Right, okay, I have to take a break. We're going to keep going, of course, on the show. Loads coming up between now and 12, including your comments that are coming in thick and fast. Lend your voice to the conversation, 086 60 25,000, or call 07491 25,000.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Student loans now available and free banking for students from your local and friendly credit union. Call 91022126 or email loans@letterkennycu.ie.
At the Central Statistics Office, we're trusted to gather all sorts of information. So, we count exports, imports, airports and seaports. We count schools, pools and how many O'Tools? We count emissions, permissions and social conditions. We count beds, sheds and newlyweds. We count families, growing trees and diversity. Because this data informs important decisions on everything from economic activity to housing policy to what to call a new baby. And we can't do it without you. CSO. Count on us. We count on you.
Do you suffer from high cholesterol, menopause symptoms, digestive issues, anxiety, aches and pains, or a lack of energy? The highly trained team at The Natural Way Letterkenny can provide advice on natural remedies for a number of individual health issues. The Natural Way also has its own brand of herbal treatments to help fight fatigue, relieve digestive discomfort, maintain a healthy immune system, and alleviate common menopause symptoms. The Natural Way at Letterkenny Shopping Centre, your one-stop health shop.
My spelling always stopped me from doing things, but thanks to my class with Donegal Education and Training Board, I've learned how the computer can help. It was hard to take the first step, but now there is no holding me back.
Literacy changes lives. Make a change in your life today by contacting Donegal ETB and find a class that suits you.
If you'd like to volunteer to help someone make that change, call in to your local Donegal Education and Training Board Further Education and Training Centre.
Supported by Adult Literacy for Life, the Government of Ireland and the European Union.
Well, Grace, how are you today?
I'm good. I've just been down to the Made to Measure Fireplaces showroom in Creasla. They have an incredible selection of over 40 colours for kitchen worktops. And guess what? For a limited time, they're offering a 40% discount on any electric fire when you purchase a worktop there.
40%? That's an amazing deal, Grace.
Absolutely. And trust me, if the discount alone doesn't sway you, their huge selection of fireplaces, stoves, wood pellet burners, beams and stone cladding certainly will.
Contact Made to Measure Fireplaces Creasla on 074 91 38 365 on Facebook, Instagram and on mtmfireplaces.ie. The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, offering low-rate car loans with fast approval. Apply online at letterkennycu.ie or in office today.
Most people say that Donegal is the coolest place on the planet, but up here we know that sometimes it can be the coldest. Charles Brunner & Sons Ballybuffet is the one-stop shop for all your heating needs. We have a huge range of multi-fuel and wood pellet stoves and ranges, spare parts for all major stove and range brands, plumbing and bathroom ware, all at exceptional prices. So visit our showrooms where our friendly and experienced team will be ready to help you. Charles Brunner & Sons Ballybuffet and thestovestore.ie, where you can always do a good deal better.
There's always a feeling of anticipation when you sit into a new car. That excitement. You admire its smooth lines, its class-leading technology, its spacious interior. You find yourself sitting comfortably in its sculpted seat. You can sense this one is different. It's electric, charged with attitude, pumped with energy. You've made the right choice. The Opel Mokka Electric. Test drive it today at Heron Auto Opel. See heronopel.ie for details.
Are you building a new home? Building requirements state that you must install a radon barrier. At FF Radon Systems, we supply and professionally install the fully certified barrier. For more information, call Liam at FF Radon Systems on 086 833 2749.
We're sorry to inform you of yet another delay. No, not the train this time, it's John. He's delayed getting his eyes tested. If he's accidentally sat in your lap, knocked over your suitcase or kissed you instead of his wife, we can only apologise. John has now been informed that eye tests and glasses from the €69 range at Specsavers are free with PRSI or medical card. So there's no need to delay booking an appointment. Find out more at specsavers.ie. John, can you get off my lap?
Hi, Nathan Carter here, and I'm delighted to say I've just had 2 installations from Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, and I have to say their attention to detail is second to none. With their sleek design and craftsmanship, your dream kitchen is just a visit away. So why not head over to Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms and let the magic begin.
Cherrymore Kitchens and Bedrooms, Donegal Town. More kitchens your way since 1996. Visit cherrymore.ie or call 9725 to book your free design appointment.
Now, did you know you could double or even triple the interest you're earning on your savings if you switch to a European bank? The ECB's increased interest rates several times in the past 18 months. However, Irish banks have been slow to pass it on to deposits, despite charging higher rates for those with loans or mortgages. Mark Cohn from moneysherper.ie is back on the show with us. Good morning to you, Mark. How are you keeping?
Morning, Greg. I'm very well, thanks.
Great to have you on the show. Right, okay, so this isn't a workaround. Is it perfectly legal? You're not shifting money overseas and going to get a visit by revenue here, are you?
No, you're not. I mean, this is one of the advantages of being in the EU. It's an open market, let's not forget, and that counts for your money as well. So it is perfectly legal, Greg. You do still have to declare to the Irish revenue that your interest and how much you've returned, and you still will have to pay your deposit interest retention tax of 33%. There's no getting around that. But the interest rate difference between what you can earn across the EU and what you can earn with your money here in Ireland is really significant.
Is there any implications for the state? Because there is billions in this country in savings. It doesn't really matter to the state if it's moved elsewhere, because presumably actually it's better for the state because their tax take increases.
Yeah, I mean, on a state level, no. For the banks, this could be significant if everybody all at once decided to move their money. So there's 130 billion on deposit right now in Irish bank accounts, and on average, that's getting around 0.1 or 0.2%. Whilst across the EU, with ECB rates being as high as 4.25%, EU retail banks are offering up to 4%. So that 130 billion that people have got on deposit in Irish banks with an inflation rate of around 5%, that's losing Irish savers about 5 billion annually. So there's a big incentive for people to start to shop around and put their money where it's more effective. And of course, if they all do that all at once, then there would be no money left in the Irish banks.
I think it's called a run on the banks, isn't it? Maybe we don't want to see that. But people are very defensive about the money, to the point that many people actually don't even want to put it into the bank. They'd prefer it just to sit under their mattress, metaphorically or literally speaking. So, like, what kind of protections are there? Because obviously the banking crash is still very fresh in our minds and what have you. So as an example, where could you deposit your money to get that 4%, and what kind of protections are there for you?
Yeah, Greg, it's a great question. So the first thing to deal with the protections. So if you keep your money in the EU, the bank deposit protection scheme is EU-wide. So your savings would be protected with any single institution up to 100,000, whether you put your money in Ireland or whether you put your money in Germany or Lithuania or anywhere within the European Union. So it is equally protected, is essentially the thing that people need to know. Now, as to where you can put your deposits, once you start to think about how you shop around, the first thing is you don't actually have to move outside of Ireland to get a decent rate, because there are European players that are now entering the Irish market. So the one that I would highlight for savers is the Dutch bank, who are called Bunq, B-U-N-Q. And Bunq are like the Dutch equivalent of Revolut. So we know Revolut well in Ireland, who are obviously based in the UK and operate here. Bunq do the same thing. But the reason I pointed out for savers is they're offering 1.56%. So the best rate in the market for instant savings here in Ireland through the Irish banks is 0.01% from AIB, whilst Bunq are offering 1.56%. And they are regulated here in Ireland. They have an Irish IBAN. You could put your current account with them, and their app is pretty much as good as Revolut's. I mean,
So what does that mean then in real terms? So say just a round figure, €1,000, right? So if you lodge that with Bunq, that annual rate is an APR. It's an annual rate, sorry. So what would your return be? It's basic maths, isn't it? What, 114? What, 1460? Yeah. On 1,000?
Yeah, that's right. It depends how long you'd keep your money in. I mean, the number I have in front of me, just to save me doing the mental arithmetic.
Damn, I was hoping to make you do a mental arithmetic.
Yeah, exactly. It's a Monday morning for a start, Greg. I've got 25,000 over 3 years, right? Because what we do say, and I know people might think this is a huge sum of money, but for good financial wellness, and I know this is very difficult to get, but really you want to have 6 months of your income on deposit somewhere as an emergency fund. So 25,000, if you look at the national wage, is not a crazy number. And I know not a lot of people have this, but
enough do that there's 130 billion on deposit. So
correct. So if you take that 25,000 and over 3 years, that will give you an extra 750 with Bunq, as opposed to on AIB. So that's why it's worth people looking into this. Now, that's instant. So you're not tying your money up, and that's what you should be doing with an emergency fund. But if you were really lucky and you had more money to do than the 25,000 and you could afford to tie it up longer, you can get up to 3.35% via a German fintech called Raisin. And what Raisin do is a portal. So you log into them and they let you access banks right across the EU. So there's a bank in France called U United that's offering over 3% for a 1-year term deposit. And the best 1-year term deposit in Ireland is 2% from permanent TSB. So again, almost double the rates by shopping around.
Now, the banks here are arguing that they're doing us a favour, actually. The reason that they are not giving us, when I say us, I can't include myself in this, but anyway, the royal us, the reason they're giving us low interest rates on our deposits is because they're being very good and not passing on all the increases on our mortgages. So it's actually, they're working for us, Mark. They're working for us. That's why we have the highest interest rates in one of the highest interest rates in the EU and one of the lowest deposit interest rates. That is, they're working for us.
Yeah, well, forgive me for being slightly cynical.
I think I was a bit cynical in the question, but go ahead.
Ireland's quite unusual. We've actually got more money on deposit than we have loaned out. So if you were to choose how to make the most money, you choose to keep deposit interest rates low, and mortgage rates relatively low as well. So I suspect that's what the banks are actually doing. They're not really doing us a favour. They make more money by choosing to keep the interest rates low. But you don't have to. You could move your money and benefit from the EU. And I think that what would do, of course, is that would force the Irish banks worried about losing those deposits to look at their rates a little bit higher. And, this is the beauty of competition. And there is competition if people shop around. That would force the banks to give better returns to their savers.
We can vote with our feet. Isn't that the old saying? A caller says, do you have the same rights when it comes to the likes of Revolut? I feel like when you can walk into the bank, there's an extra layer of security and accountability. I wouldn't agree with that. I think that's perceived. But you can tell me whether it's perception or reality.
Yeah, I mean, the law is the same. And I think we're finding, the more and more you walk into your retail bank now, the less and less empowered the retail bank staff are to actually help you, unfortunately. So I think whether that was true in the past, I think the days of the local bank manager being empowered to make decisions on their customers' behalf is pretty much gone. I mean, you do still see that in the credit unions, but I don't think you really see that in the banks. So, under the law, you've got all the protections that you've got with the Irish banks. All right, and very finally, do people have to do this work themselves, or does your company work as an intermediary, or giving advice in terms of availing of higher interest rates elsewhere, or how does that work? Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. I mean, on moneyshopper.ie, we do have articles that cover where the best current rates are, and you can sign up via there. But it's more of a do-it-yourself thing, because if you signed up to Revolut, it's as simple as that. You just sign up to these banks and away you go. But go to Money Sherpa to get the information. And sure, while you're there, look around. Okay, listen, thanks very much, Mark. Take care of yourself. Mark Cohn there.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union, with monster loans available up to €60,000 for all occasions. Visit letterkennycu.ie.
We go through a lot to connect with our family. That's why Vodafone Red Family now rewards you with a minimum of €20 off every month when you add broadband to your plan. So moments like getting the dog they desperately wanted can be more rewarding after you've fed it, walked it, cleaned it, played with it, walked it, taken it to the vet, and walked it again. Search Vodafone Red Family or go in store. Vodafone. Together we can.
Offer subject to being a 3rd to 6th connection joining a Red Family account on a Bill Pay Mobile or Vodafone Home Broadband plan. For full terms, see vodafone.ie/Red Family.
If you want to grow up to be a champion, you have to eat like a champion. And the Aldi Super 6 fresh meat and fish offers are a super choice with up to 27% off, including 2 sirloin steaks were $5.49, now $3.99. 5% fat beef steak mince was $4.19, now $3.79. Extra large chicken fillets were $7.69, now $6.69. All 100% Irish and Board Bia quality assured. And salmon fillets 2-pack was $4.35, now $3.99. Aldi, official fresh food partner of the Irish rugby team. Come on, Ireland, we're rooting for you.
Starting to think about what's next? Then don't miss Ulster University's Open Days on the 14th to the 16th of September at our Derry Londonderry campus. Come along to learn about our courses and discover where a degree from Ulster could take you. Discover why Ulster University is ranked #1 in the UK for job prospects by student crowd. Register now at ulster.ac.uk/Open Days.
Prepare and protect your skin this autumn. Invest in Lancome skincare, available at Michael Henley's department store. Purchase 2 or more Lancome products, 1 to be skincare, and get a full-size product completely free. Offer available in-store at Michael Henley's and online at michaelhenneys.com while stocks last.
Want to live a more sustainable lifestyle, but not too sure how to start? Join me, Donna Marie Doherty, every Tuesday at 12:30 for It's Ours to Protect to learn all the tips and tricks. Ours to Protect is funded by Commission Limon with a television licence fee and is a partnership between Highland Radio and the Independent Broadcasters of Ireland. Check out ourstoprotect.ie for more info.
With all the stories that matter across the Northwest, it's Greg Hughes on the 9 to Noon Show on Highland Radio.
Okay, coming up, Monday Focus, Brendan Devaney, so much more. Stay right where you are as we get a news update now from Michaela Clark.
Thanks, Greg. Good morning. Local authority staff are engaging in industrial action indefinitely from today. Employees who are represented by the Forsa Trade Union are refusing to carry out engagements with politicians. The union is calling for better pay and conditions for staff who they say are working above their pay grade. The chair of Donegal County Council's Defective Concrete Block Redress Committee has hit out at the local authority and the housing department over the slow pace at which defective concrete block homes are being remediated. The council is waiting the go-ahead from the department to carry out works on 60 social homes for almost 2 years now. Meanwhile, private homeowners who have submitted applications under the revised scheme are still waiting months to be granted permission and funding to fix their properties. Conor Brown, who was murdered in Castlederg last week, is to be laid to rest today. The 28-year-old from the Strabane area was stabbed in Castlederg's main street on Saturday, September the 2nd, and passed away in hospital a number of days later. His funeral mass gets underway within the next hour at St Francis of Assisi Church, Drumna Bay. The Public Expenditure Minister says people on average wages will benefit from changes to taxation in the budget. It follows reports that cuts to the universal social charge are under consideration. A Donegal senator says Europe is very important to Donegal. Senator Niall Blaney in recent days confirmed his intention to run as one of Fianna Fáil's candidates for the Midlands North West constituency in next year's European Parliament elections. Northern Ireland is set to receive over €1 billion in EU peace funding. Taoiseach Leo Varadkar is announcing the allocation in Belfast this afternoon. And Ireland is to contribute €2 million of humanitarian aid to Morocco following an earthquake which has killed more than 2,000 people. International search teams are arriving in the country to help with the rescue efforts. Those are the latest headlines. We'll be back with an update again at 12 noon. Until then, you can keep up to date with the latest local news on our website, highlandradio.com.
Okay, Michaela, thank you very much indeed.
Aldi is back at the National Ploughing Championships in Ratheniska, County Laois from the 19th to the 21st of September. Meet our award-winning suppliers and sample their incredible products. Enjoy special guest appearances and much, much more from Ireland's most reputable supermarket. You can also catch the finals of the National Brown Bread Baking Competition and be there when the Grow with Aldi 2023 winners are announced. Told you it'd be intense. Or a marquee anyway. See you there. Aldi, everyday Irish, everyday amazing.
A caller says we need to hang on to the money in card. Best of both worlds. We get paid in cash, even direct debit. I do wonder sometimes if the more cash you have, the more resources you have, the less worried you are about cash. I think for a lot of us, and this could be as far out as the old Fanad Lighthouse, but that if you are the type that, say, for instance, you lost your job, you'd be under pressure immediately or within a short period of months, that you're more keen to be able to hold on to the tangible that is cash. Greg, I know 3 girls who trained as OTs in Edinburgh. They tried to get jobs here without any success, so they all headed back to Edinburgh and are in permanent jobs there. I mean, fair play to them. But that's just a terrible situation. And we're going to be speaking to people, if not today, certainly tomorrow, who are training in this area and don't see any future for them here. Yet we're being told that every effort is being made to hire these people. So there is a blockage there that needs rid. Surely there is a law in this country or in Europe that every child's entitled to the same treatment. Our services are holding back these children, nobody else. Lawyers need to step up and take this on against the government. This is against our human rights. I heard a comment earlier stating we are the forgotten county, and for everything discussed this morning, it really shows. It's hard to shake that tag with all we're talking about, isn't it? Greg, my daughter is 15 with autism. The system is so slow getting any support. She attends eye care in Buncrana. Only for them, she would have no social outlet at all. Very difficult for all the family. And eye care as well, to fantastic work. I name-checked them earlier because I know exactly the work that they do. I know the people that are involved in it. It is families themselves. And if they weren't doing it, there would be this massive gap in services. And of course, then, and I know efforts are being made to continue supports for people, but up until relatively recently, there was a cliff edge there in terms of supports as you move from young adulthood into actual adulthood. Okie doke. Right. More on that anon. Stay right where you are. Monday Focus is coming up as well. But now we switch to matters on the fields of GAA, because the DL debate, it's a podcast, and it's broadcast tonight just after the 7 o'clock news, so you can listen to it at your leisure via download or stream it. Its producer, General Dog's Body. It's Brendan Devaney. Hi, Brent.
Second best show on Highland Radio.
What's the first one?
Oh, well.
Are you on it now?
Have to be, yeah. What else could I say?
I don't know. You invite me onto the DL debate and I'll blow it up yours as well.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Heading towards now the real business end of the club season, I think, Brendan. So I imagine there'll be a focus on what went on at the weekend on the show tonight. You've got a great team of people to discuss this with you.
Yeah, big show, Greg. It's been coming thick and fast 4 weeks in a row now of championship right across the board here, and it's been hard to keep up with at times, but it's been exciting, and the way the draw was, the way they've changed up the championship has kept it very fresh. In terms of the group stages before, you had the last games were often irrelevant to some of the teams that were qualified in that. So the way it's left there, everybody was fighting for something on the last day, and we did a full roundup of all the games. Oisín was doing live commentary from Niamh Conall, Glen Swilly with Gary McDade, and then the rest was around the grounds. I was down in Dunlow, Narassa Park, to see the big West Coast derby. So yeah, it was a great evening. It was brilliant just listening in, all the scorelines coming through and the permutations and that. But now we have our 4 teams at the top there, straight through in the quarterfinals. The next 8 play a pre-quarterfinal to get in to join the top 4, and the bottom 4 playoff then for relegation.
So what jumped out from you from the weekend? Anything that surprised you or of note?
Well, I suppose Rua topped the group, topped the whole standings, 4-1-4. A lot of people mightn't have seen that before the championship, so they've pushed their way into that. The only, I suppose you're on about the top teams in the county, the only one of those that they played was Gweedore, and they won that match. So they're up there on merits, and Unions after them, Niamh Conall and Kilcar. Probably you would expect those 3 to be in there. There's Gweedore, it's got the push out, Glen Swilly coming very close as well. So listen, they had a brilliant first half against Niamh Conall. Michael Murphy flying, hitting a couple of goals, and we're looking really good. I think they were 6 points up at one stage in that encounter, but Niamh Connell's experience in the second half just was too much for them. So it's interesting now that the draw was open for the pre-quarterfinal, Greg, and I was at Dunlow Gweedore. Of course, they drew each other again now in the pre-quarterfinal, and the relegations as well. St. Knowles beat Killybegs, and they face each other now for I suppose the winners will stay in the senior championship, the losers will drop down in the intermediate. So some teams are going to play back-to-back games there, but certainly, Greg, I think where the standings are, the teams that have made it through the early quarterfinals have proved themselves. But with good performances there, Sean McCool's at the weekend there against Kilcar, like that was a game a lot of people thought Kilcar would win with a bit to spare, but Oisín Gallen, as ever, just an absolute scoring machine. They had 9 points in a 14-all draw match there. So there's teams, Greg, pushing up, trying to creep in. Clonneely had another good result, 290-271 over 4 Masters as well. So there's teams, Greg, that are certainly on the up and up for years. I think that the top teams in Donegal had it all their own way, but that looks like it's changing a bit, which will only be healthy for the landscape in senior football.
Yeah, and it gives the top teams a kick up the ass as well, doesn't it? A kick up the bum, I should say. It's good for the sport in general.
Yeah, indeed. When you're listening, when you're hearing it, listen, the news come over from St. Michael's, St. Eunan's with 2 each at half time. I just couldn't get my head around that at all. And then, funnily enough, in the game I was at, it was 7-6 at half time to Gweedore, and there was only 2 points each in that second half. Things got very, very cagey. Listen, there's a lot at stake in that, Greg, and we've obviously talked about this a lot in terms of how teams play. It went very defensive, but then again, you can understand with things at stake. It's funny that the Unions St. Michael's game went the other way around. Gweedore and Dunlow had a decent first half. I thought really if there's obviously an interview up with Desi Gallagher, the manager, after. I was saying, was that something that you planned to do? But he says it wasn't. It's just how the game developed. And Gweedore have a lot of good ball players and that. You can understand then it becomes this entrenched kind of counter-attack. I think from a team like Dunloe, the best way is to go out in the front foot and actually go and try and win the match, you know. And Desi's saying, listen, they're just up from intermediate. They're continually learning. But certainly, you know, for years, Gweedore would have been a long step ahead of Dunloe in terms of the matchups. But there wasn't much in it there at the weekend, only a point. So that's a fascinating one going into this pre-quarterfinals.
Right, so talk to us about how this works now for those who are just sort of getting interest in it at the moment, the makeup of it now. So how many teams are left in? So you have the pre-quarterfinals, obviously. There's a couple of slots available in the quarterfinals proper. Do we know any pairings at this point? Is it an open draw? What's the situation?
So the top four teams, I would say, Rua, St. Junans, Naomh Conn, Kilcara, they're through. They're in the quarterfinals waiting. So we have a pre-quarterfinal, much like we had in All-Ireland series where Donegal were in against Tyrone at that stage to get into a quarterfinal. So the quarterfinal pairings then is Glen Swilly, Glen Finn, Gweedore, as I say, are playing Dunloe, Sean McColl's are playing Four Masters, and Cloughanedy play Ardra. So the four winning teams from that will then join those four at the top that I mentioned. They play in our quarterfinals. And then at the bottom, St. Nolls, St. Michael's, Mulford and Killybegs. And as I say, St. Nolls face Killybegs and St. Michael's face Mulford. So that is to see who is going to get relegated, Greg, and go down into the intermediate division. Some
tasty ties in there, isn't there? And some scores to be settled, results to be reversed. It's going to be pretty interesting indeed. John Harron and Dara Boner are your guests. Dara Boner's of the Donegal News, of course, isn't he? To look back on the weekend's action and to look forward to the permutations as well. And what else? I think there's enough there to be got, because obviously then you've got the other...
Look at intermediate, junior,
I've got to say that,
everything. All the GA news of the week. We've got our intermediate pairings as well. Buncrana are playing Fana Gales, Malin Bundoran, Terman are playing Naomh Columba, Downing's playing Red Hughes, and in the relegation at that level, it's Letterkenny Gales, Naomh Breed, and Naomh Wara v Burt. So yeah, we'll go on to that. We'll go on to the junior, Greg. Any GA news stories, and you always get a few good words from John Jazz Harn, of course. He's never scared of a comment. And
Jazz.
It's great to have Dara up. Yeah, John Jazz. That's the handle.
I like it. All right, you can listen to the DL debate. It's in association with Sarah's Kitchen at Sister Sarah's Letterkenny. It's on air just after the 7 o'clock news this evening. And to be honest, if you have any interest in Donegal GEA, where else would you go? Because you're going to have you're going to be right across it all there. Brent, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so very much indeed. All right, take care of yourself. Just after 7 tonight, or then you can listen back to the pod whenever it suits you. And as I say, it's a really good show, even if you're not all into the GEA, especially when it sort of gets to the end of it where it's all interesting and knockouts and stuff. Well, listen to that tonight. You'll not be disappointed.
The county's #1 talk show, the 9 till noon show on Highland Radio.
The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union. Simplify your debts with a debt consolidation loan from Letterkenny Credit Union. Call us on 074 910 2126 or apply online via our app or in office today.
Tickets! Get your tickets! Arsenal, Chelsea, Leeds, Liverpool, Manchester United, Spurs and more. Home games and all the goals scored. Don't be shy, it only takes a minute to win it.
It's Cadbury FC's biggest football ticket giveaway ever, plus thousands of other prizes to be won every game week. Just head to matchtheminute.cadburyfc.com to get your match minute. If a goal's scored in that minute, you win. Enter today. T's and C's apply.
New football boots just arrived at Brian McCormick Sports. Adidas X Crazy Fast in new white, green or classic black. Adidas Copa Pure in classic black. New Puma King range in soft ground or firm ground. Kids football boots for all sizes in many new colours. Match up your boots with an Adidas or O'Neill set of socks and shorts. Brian McCormick Sports, your football specialist. Click on bmcsports.ie or call in Main Street, Letterkenny.
In this week's RTE Guide, Patrick Keelty on the power of comedy in adversity and landing the biggest job on Irish TV. Following an emotional farewell last year, Neighbours returns to our screens this month. Plus our home and interior special, 10 pages of sustainable design and makeover tips. Everything and more. RTE Guide on sale now.
Sale, 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 with over €150,000 of reductions across all used stock. This is not to be missed. Test drive any car at iMotors and enter a draw to win €1,000 cash. Yes, €1,000 cash to take a test drive. Ends September 16th. When you buy, choose one of the following offers: 12 months tax, free ceramic coating, 24 months warranty, or your first finance payment covered by us. Low finance rates available. Check our website for all T's and C's. You will not want to miss out. Visit imotors.ie for more details.
Did you know Cool Kids Sligo have the biggest range of baby equipment in the Northwest, with 25 years of baby expertise? Cool Kids Sligo take deposits on your baby bundle. Visit us in store at Cool Kids Sligo or shop online at babyaccessories.ie for free nationwide delivery. Make Cool Kids Sligo your number one destination for all things baby.
Highland Radio time checks with Expressway. Travel Route 32 from Letterkenny to Dublin when you book online and travel for less. Expressway, bringing you the time at...
The time's 11:15, just approaching 11:16 on this Monday morning, the 11th of September. How are you all keeping? Thank you so much for choosing to have your morning with us. Greatly appreciated. A caller says, anyone know why we can enjoy all 48 matches from the Rugby World Cup, a professional tournament, live on free-to-air TV, while some of the best games from our own amateur GEA championships are behind paywalls? Well, do we know the real reason? We probably suspect it, but they will say, well, we're showing more games now than we ever did, and if we didn't do this behind the paywall, these games wouldn't be shown, and so on and so forth. But I think you make a very strong point, and it's the same with the Football World Cup, soccer that is, and the Women's World Cup. All of the games are on the telly, but when it comes to our own national sport, some of the biggest games behind that paywall that you talk of. This is from a listener here. Our then 5-year-old was due to start school September 2020. We wanted to get his hearing checked before he started big school, as he had been showing signs of extreme anxiety, which a lot of the time was from how he'd hear things like loud noises, crowds, etc. The doctor checked him over and said he'd request an audiology appointment for him. I had asked about a time frame and he couldn't say how long, but there wouldn't be a hope of being seen before school started. He advised us that going private would be quicker. He referred us for a private appointment and we got seen within a couple of months. So then last month, the public appointment came where he had his hearing checked in the hospital, and then there on Saturday his follow-up appointment with the actual surgeon to discuss the results. This being the same surgeon we saw 3 years ago. In case people are wondering, we kept the public appointment as our son would still show signs of struggling with his hearing, but this time I knew what questions to ask, etc. This surgeon comes to Scally practice occasionally, and I'm not sure if he's the only one that deals with such appointments. A caller says the emergency department in Letterkenny has not got the staff to deal with emergencies. The receptionist area is no way private. The entire emergency room hears all your business, especially when you have to ask a friend that's in shock due to a fall, that you have asked her all of her health questions in front of a crowded room. The triage room should deal with that, indeed. And it's come up before. We got a commitment from the hospital manager that he would look in at the privacy side of things. Like, I've had stories of people being asked really personal, intimate questions. When was the last time you had sex? You know, stuff like that there, to do with menstrual cycles and all that type of stuff in earshot of everybody else. The kind of conversation they would never ordinarily have, of course, in front of strangers. Good time to keep the fight going and let the politicians know about it. The elections are next year. It suits them. If you get weary, please don't give up. That comes in from listener Ava. Hi, Greg. While the people of Ireland struggle with rising food fuel costs, our Taoiseach's away to Belfast to give away $1 billion to Northern Ireland for some rebuilding regeneration money that we're giving in our high taxation money that should be used to build much needed housing. Well, I mean, there's many people listening that have, their opinion is very firmly that Northern Ireland is Ireland, and that maybe that's paving the way for a border poll. Right, okay. Let us get behind the headlines a little now, because you might know that local authorities, those working with the Forces Trade Union, working in local authorities, are beginning industrial action today. But what's it about and how might it affect you? Richie Carruthers is Assistant General Secretary of the Forces Union, and it feels like a long time since I've spoken to you. Good morning to you, Richie.
Good morning, Greg. How are you?
Good, and great to have you back on the show. Right, so I suppose from a county council perspective, how many staff are we talking, and what is the nature of the action?
So in Donegal, we've got upwards of 500 members who are going to be involved in this action. Nationally, there's 12,000 workers who are involved in the local authority sector for FORSA. We're the largest union in the local government sector. Now, I should say that this row isn't new. It's been going on for a long time. We've been trying to resolve it. But essentially, 10,000 council jobs were lost following the financial crisis. And services were only maintained because staff had taken on additional duties above their pay grades across the public sector. And local authorities suffered the greatest reduction in staff numbers during the austerity years. And it resulted in what we've described, Greg, as significant grade drift. So people working above their grade. Now, we're after one thing and one thing only. It's a fairly straightforward ask. We want the management to introduce a job evaluation process, which is essentially an analytical tool used in an organisation to see if the post holder is being paid correctly for the work that they're doing or expected to do.
So so from a layperson or someone outside, it sounds to me then what happened, there was a lot of redundancies. The remaining staff put their shoulder to the wheel, took on extra duties. No one questioned at the time, because it was a national emergency, that some of those duties would ordinarily go to someone on a higher pay grade, but it became normalised. And now here we are 15 odd years later, and it's all been blurred now, and people that are doing work that should be compensated more for.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think that's it in a nutshell. I think what the job evaluation tool does, and it's in commonplace across the HSE and in the higher education sector. Lots of places in the private sector use it. Every local authority in the 6 counties and in England, Scotland and Wales uses it. So there's no guarantee. It's a valuation exercise to ensure that people are graded properly. There's no commitments or guarantees for people who go into that process. The Irish Human Rights and Equality Commission have confirmed that the job evaluation tool is good in terms of ensuring equal pay for work of equal value. And we're now dealing with a local government management sector, which is simply just tone deaf to the reality that workers are no longer willing to act at a higher level and be paid at a lower level, as it were. And 85% of our members voted yes in a ballot to give us a mandate for action up to including strike action. So we kicked off the industrial action this morning, Greg, and that means that all of our members will be refusing to engage in non-statutory political representations, so verbal, written and email from politicians. And last Wednesday, I wrote to every councillor, senator and TD in the country confirming the action would take place and apologising in advance for the impact that this may have on the critical work of an elected representative. But
so can you give us an example of a typical contact from a politician that will now not be cooperated with?
So politicians would, particularly councillors, would make routine contact throughout the working day of local authority staff, inquiring about things that might be happening in roads or water or developmental works. So that won't be responded to. Mandatory or statutory engagements will still be responded to. So workers will still prepare agendas for meetings and municipal district meetings and help with the administration of the democratic structure, as it were. But that informal day-to-day contact is not won't be adhered to.
But the councillors and the politicians will go back and say, "Look, I can do nothing. I can do nothing for you. The staff won't work for me." And blame you guys for that. I mean, is it not really the public that's going to feel the heat on this, and you'll be the bad guys?
So actually, the opposite has happened, surprisingly, or maybe not surprisingly. Like in Dublin City Council over the weekend, the political leadership of all the main political parties and the independent grouping signed a motion to go to council supporting the force action. So up and down the country, we've had really positive feedback from councillors, TDs and senators. And in this county, in Donegal, we've had a lot of positive feedback and support, because I think people realise that hard-pressed local government staff have had enough. And really people are working above grade, and I think it's seen by people in the political system that it's no longer sustainable. So whilst you're right, we're not in dispute with politicians. This is workers exercising their democratic right and not to do part of their work as part of the ongoing dispute.
And I presume the staff are saying, look, we're not looking for pay rises, we're looking for the pay we're working. That would be the argument. And as you say, if this evaluation tool is used, there's no guarantee that someone might get a pay rise. I mean, obviously they'll suspect they'd have a fair chance of it, but this is about being paid as you should be for the work you're doing, rather than seeking a pay rise.
So it's a precursor step. Actually, it's just the ability to have your job independently assessed or analysed to see if you're doing work at a higher level. And I should say this, there is no guarantee that would be the case, but there's a recruitment crisis in the local government sector. I remember speaking to you years ago during the financial crisis, and Donegal lost a disproportionate number of those jobs. So local government was once the employer of choice. That's now no longer the case. People are voting with their feet, and there's a recruitment and retention crisis in the local government sector as people go and work elsewhere, including the private sector. So we think that this is a good tool to keep people, to maintain people, to ensure that we have people across the 6 public services centres in Donegal, for instance, to deliver key services to the public. And we would prefer not to be in this position. The ask is modest. Just give us the process on which to deal with the issues to ensure that people are validated properly. And the local government sector management, Greg, I should say this, they've said 2 things in the same breath, which is contradictory. They've said, on the one hand, everybody's graded properly and there's nothing to see. And in the same breath, they say, if there is job evaluation, it's going to cost a fortune and everybody will be regraded. I would say in response to that, it can't be both. It has to be one or the other, right? So the dispute is... Well,
they don't trust the mechanism. As far as they're concerned, now is the status quo moving forward. Why upset the apple cart? And they fear, obviously, that this evaluation would rejig things to the point where people would have to be paid more money. Richie, you've got a broad mandate from your members, FORSA members. How does this escalate? Because, of course, this is the type of action, whilst it's important and it's significant, it falls off the news cycle really quite quickly. So, what is the next action? When are we likely to see that?
So I don't think it's going to go away anytime soon. I think that the political response has been really overwhelming, and politicians have been writing to Minister Darragh O'Brien, seeking for him to intervene. And county councillors have been placing down emergency motions at council meetings. But there will be an escalation over the coming weeks as a result of this, and definitely could result in workers pulling out and putting boots on the ground with full-blown strike action. So a small window of opportunity, Greg, exists for the local government management to engage in a sensible, solution-focused discussion under the auspices of the Workplace Relations Commission. My phone is on, and I'm waiting to hear if anybody wants to make contact within the political system or within the local government management agency to go back to negotiations and back to talks. But the row isn't going to go away by simply pretending it doesn't exist.
Now, the local government management agency who you referenced, they're saying that, yes, both parties went into the WRC and the matter could have been referred to the Labour Court, but instead you decided to commence this industrial action and say that this is contrary to the provision of the public sector pay agreement, building momentum. What do you say to that?
What says you? Well, look, that's, I've heard this line trotted out. The dispute was supposed to kick off in late June. As a result of discussions between myself and the leadership of the LGMA, we referred the row to the WRC, and the terminology we used was that both parties would engage constructively and meaningfully in order to resolve the row. We had 2 goals of it at the WRC. It was neither constructive nor meaningful, and therefore talks broke down. This is legitimate because workers are kind of fed up and they're now voting with their feet. But it is avoidable and it is solvable, right? So we remain available for meaningful discussions under the auspices of the WRC. Greg, you've been covering industrial disputes most of your career, certainly for all the time that you've been working in Highland. It normally ends in some negotiation somewhere where people can live with. It will require give and take on both sides, but we can't negotiate on our own. And the LGMA need to put their shoulder to the wheel and need to be serious and go back to the negotiating table. Otherwise, this is going to continue and it's going to escalate.
All right, well, between the jigs and the reels, I don't think Darragh O'Brien's going to be booking a month in Downings next summer. But anyway, thanks very much for your time. Take care. All right, that is Richie Carruthers, Assistant General Secretary of the Fawcett Union, and the reference there, of course, is that it's Minister Dara O'Brien who is their go-to guy there, and is hearing plenty from Donegal listening, open to discussion, but certainly hearing plenty. It is the 9 till noon show at 11:30. How are you all? Back with more for you very shortly.
Watch the show live now on YouTube, Facebook and at highlandradio.com. The 9 till noon show with Letterkenny Credit Union, now offering mortgages from €40,000 to €600,000 with no hidden fees or transaction charges. Letterkenny Credit Union, 9102127.
Don't miss the big baby event at Lidl. Mix and match multi-buys across our award-winning Loopy Loo Premium Nappies range from 2 packs for €2. Get dreamy prices on 100% cotton baby sleep suits, 2 for €6. And feed the little ones at little cost. Loopy Loo food range 20% off on Lidl Plus. Go on, shop without compromise. Go full Lidl today.
Electric Ireland Superhomes can help you achieve a cosier, healthier and more energy efficient home, and one with less carbon emissions. They look after your home's retrofit from start to finish, including management of SEAI grants. Visit electricirelandsuperhomes.ie and start your journey to a superhome today. Grants offered are provided by the Government of Ireland through the SEAI.
The new Corolla Hybrid Electric range is here, and the Corolla Cross SUV is the latest addition to the iconic family. Spacious and beautifully designed, it's perfect for growing families everywhere. And it's available to order now at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. With exceptional electric drive time and no plugging in, the next generation is ready to take over. See the new Corolla Cross today at Kelly's Toyota Letterkenny and Mount Charles. Toyota, built for a better world. Terms and conditions apply.
There's bingo every Monday night at Halfway House Bingo Burnfoot. Doors open at 7:30 with eyes down at 8:30. €2,500 must go. The snowball is now €1,500 on 45 numbers or less. If you're not in, you can't win. That's Halfway House Bingo tonight at 8:30.
A public interest message from Donegal County Council. Overgrown hedges, shrubs and trees along public roads can become a danger to people using or working on a public road. Donegal County Council is reminding landowners and occupiers of their obligations to trim hedges and trees beside the public road. This should be done before the bird nesting season commences in early March. Donegal County Council thanks the many members of the public who have already carried this work out. Donegal County Council, supporting communities and the environment.
Okay, now as part of, it's Monday Focus time, by the way, as part of Palliative Care Week 2023, the All-Ireland Institute of Hospice and Palliative Care is calling on people in the North West to become better informed about its benefit. The campaign reaches its milestone 10th year this autumn and will take place on the 10th to the 16th of September, so we're in that week now. This week, and this item aims to educate people across the region about the positive impact that it can have on life quality and to encourage them to learn more about the services available should they need them in the future. Karen Charnley is Director of All Ireland Institute of Hospice and Palliative Care and is with us now. Good morning to you, Karen.
Good morning, Greg.
It's lovely to have you on the programme. Are we getting better talking about this stuff now? I get a sense, maybe it's because I'm getting older and I'm really talking about how I feel, but do you know, it kind of a wee bit like will writing and stuff. Maybe, you know, when we are in good health, or those around us are, we tend to either avoid or just choose not to talk about, hospice and palliative care.
Well, we commissioned a survey to inform palliative care about people's perceptions, and we found that 40% of adults prefer not to think or talk about palliative care, and 50% of adults think that palliative care, if someone's receiving palliative care, it means that they're in the last days or weeks of their lives. So for us, this shows that misconceptions about palliative care persist, which means that some people who could benefit are less willing to seek it and potentially missing out on the quality of life benefits that palliative care can provide.
Some people can live long, and the aim is full as possible lives whilst receiving palliative care.
Yeah, that it isn't just about that end of life. I suppose in some instances it is, last days and weeks. But what that palliative care can be received from diagnosis and prognosis onwards within someone's journey.
And the thing is we don't want to talk about it, but lots of us who've had someone who's passed on, either under the care of a hospice or in palliative care and or both, it is often a positive element of a very difficult experience, and that's where it gets difficult to talk about. But that's why people fundraise so much for these types of services, because they understand how they can improve people's quality of life with a terminal diagnosis.
Yeah, I suppose it's understandable. Maybe people don't want to think and talk about it, but what we'd encourage people to learn more about the benefits of palliative care, also to have those conversations with family members and friends, loved ones, about how they'd want to be cared for, where they'd want to be cared for, because I suppose the research evidence suggests that that those conversations can be really supportive when the need arises in the future, that people can feel that they're honouring meeting someone's wishes.
So hold me by the hand and lead us through it then, sort of what we're talking about here. When to have the conversation, how to have the conversation, even maybe how to put plans or preparations in finding what resources we might be talking about locally, because I think that's where the problem is. Then it becomes we perceive it to be complicated. So talk us through, Karen, what we're talking about here.
Well, I suppose thinking of different information sources, I'd encourage people to look on the palliativehub.com. We have a series of websites with a lot of information around this area. And also one of our member organisations, the Irish Hospice Foundation, have developed the Think Ahead Pack, which really is a document, but it gives people the prompts they need, ask them the questions to allow people to start planning ahead for the care that they'd like. But what we'd very much say, and I know even with my parents at home, having those conversations about, well, where would you like to be cared for? Would you like to be cared for at home, or would you prefer, if the need arises and symptoms arise, would you like to be cared in the hospital or a hospice? Having those important discussions and thinking ahead about the type of care people would want. It's kind of important to have those discussions.
Yeah, and how do you have them? Is there any advice on that? Because, I know in my parents' situation, God rest the two of them, that if, and I had a fantastic relationship with both, don't get me wrong, but if I went in and I said to my dad, who was 16 in his head till the day he died, can we talk about, I would have been chased. Do you know what I mean? Now, obviously, you can't compel people to have these discussions, but how is the best way to approach that, I wonder?
I suppose and maybe taking the prompts, maybe at if someone's, I know my own father, again, using him as an example, he had a serious problem with his eyes, and that did open the opportunity to have some of these discussions, to say, well, what are the plans for the future? Where have you set out your plans? So sometimes there might be good opportunities. I suppose we can't force anyone to have these discussions, but I think it's raising that it would be useful to have them with family members.
And also the other side of it, and we're all different, but we kind of fall into similar categories, I think. I would say there are people maybe who are getting a little bit older that they've a bit of stress and anxiety as to what might happen to them. Do you know what I mean? And they don't want to bring it up either. So actually probably for some, if not many, would be a welcome conversation. We may never need to go down this route, but if we do you know what I mean? So there's a peace of mind, and a person feels they have control over their future.
Well, and I think it's for all concerned that you as a family member, that you're being clear about what type of care they'd want, because I suppose we all have different views. Like, some people may want to be cared for completely at home, other people would be happy to be cared for in different settings. I would also flag that, and you mentioned around local hospice services. So Donegal Hospice this week, they've got a wide range of events taking place throughout the week. So in Letterkenny and Letterkenny University Hospital, they're having information stores from 12 till 4 in the staff dining room. In Donegal Hospice, they're having an open day on Wednesday from 2 till 4, and they're encouraging people to come and visit the hospice. Or they've also got pop-up stands in Letterkenny Shopping Centre and McElhenny's in Ballybuffy on Friday from 11 till 3 as well. So they're really supporting Palliative Care Week, and we're very appreciative of that.
And pardon my ignorance, Karen, when we talk about the planning and the conversation, it's not like booking things or securing things, is it? It's knowing people's wishes and what they might want, given what circumstances may arise, isn't it? So it's really planning, isn't it, to sort of fulfill their wishes rather than actually to say, right, you're going here and you're going there and you're going there. You know what I mean?
Okay. You wouldn't be booking someone in somewhere, but it's to start having those conversations. That's why I'm like the Think Ahead form. It's really, and if people Google, but also if people visit the palliativehub.com, there's lots of resources. But it's those prompts about thinking of the future. But I suppose like during Palliative Care Week, we're keen to kind of highlight the benefits of palliative care and how it supports people's physical, social, emotional and spiritual needs and puts the person at the centre of the care. And that if people were under the care, or when the need arises under the care of palliative care, that those services are there to support them with planning ahead as well. So I'm sort of jumping backwards to maybe something I might talk to at the start. So do people resist engaging with palliative care? What do they do as an alternative? Do you know what I mean? Well, I suppose sometimes, and we'd hear that people, I suppose, are resistant to accessing those services or might not seek them out because they often think, it's the last days or weeks of life, when in fact people can be in receipt of palliative care for a long period of time, and it might be that the access services and then a discharge from services as they no longer require them. So I suppose again, thinking of a family friend I have, that he was in receipt of palliative care service, was in the inpatient unit. The unit was able to support them with symptom management. He was discharged back to home. He's currently under community palliative care services, and he's still he has advanced cancer, still receiving treatment as well as part of that. So often people sometimes think palliative care last days, last weeks, and there's no other treatment being provided, when in fact it can be that, palliative care can come in and out as needed and is there as a supporting service along with people's other medical specialities, be it if they've advanced cancer, heart failure, renal, lung conditions, neurological conditions and the like.
And in providing these services and supports, and people do it to the absolute best of the ability, a lot of the time it is sort of interacting with other areas of health service, and presumably, the same challenges exist for palliative care providers in engaging with the other areas of health that do for the population as a whole. But I suppose, that being said, though, there is a level of knowledge and experience there that would mitigate as much as is possible those frustrations.
Yeah, I suppose it's palliative care teams are well used to engaging with people's other medical teams as well. So that is really the focus of those services as well. So, What
other interesting findings or findings of note came from that survey, in your view, Karen?
Well, we did find with the survey results that people do have a good sense of palliative care. So there was positives as well, that, for example, nearly 8 in 10 adults agree that palliative care also supports families, friends and caregivers. 7 in 10 think that palliative care should be considered as early as possible when diagnosed with a life-limiting conditions. So there is a number of some of the stats that are showing that people do have an understanding, but that there still are some misconceptions, and that's why this is our 10th year of running Palliative Care Week. So, but there's still more work to be done in terms of supporting people to learn more about palliative care and its benefits.
Yeah, for sure. Where can people get more information?
Well, I'd encourage them to look on our website, which is thepalliativehub.com. And on there's lots of campaign resources and leaflets. We also have videos of people's palliative care experiences. There's also a wide number of events taking place. And I know I've already mentioned some that are taking place within your own county, but there's details of a lot of events, both face-to-face, but also online events that people can register and attend. And we'd encourage them to share their experiences on social media using the hashtag PalCareWeek10. But the palliativehub.com's got a lot of information on it, so I'd encourage that as a first stop to then finding other services that and supports that are out there.
All right, Karen, listen, it's been lovely having you on the show. Thank you very much indeed. Karen Charney there, who is Director of All Ireland Institute of Hospice and Palliative Care. We are in the midst of Palliative Care Week 2023. It kicked off yesterday, as you heard. Some great events there for people to attend if you so wish. Now, I want to mention to you, it's a year out, but the spaces aren't necessarily open-ended either. David James is leading Highland Radio's Hooley to Salou in 2024. It runs from the 14th to the 21st of September 2024, and it is summer sorted, late summer sorted for this type of event. There's music from Margot, John McNichol, Robert Mazzell, Hugo Duncan, Claudia Buckley, Matt Levy, Sean Cuddy, Olivia Douglas, Gavin Gribben, Jim Devine, Sinead Black, the Ryan Turner Band, and on it goes. There's two more here, but I mentioned Shawnee Crampsey and Trevor Lochry. So for €817 per person, you get access to all of those stars with nighttime shows, poolside shows. You get 7 nights B&B in the 4-star Sol Coster Dorada Hotel. 7 nights dinner B&B. So your dinner and your breakfast is sorted, your hotel accommodation is sorted, and all your entertainment is sorted for €817 per person. So you could spread that out in your mind over the year. It might be well within your means. Now, that includes the price, all access to shows, airport transfers, dinner each evening with wine included. So if you want more information on that, go to countrymusictours.ie or call 0749 119955. Flights aren't included, but the staff there will help you with that, or you can source your own flights. That's completely up to you. The dates are the 14th to the 21st of September. $817 per person sharing, and it's going to be a cracking week, I would say. Great fun, that. And it's led by Highland Radio's David James. It's the Salute 2024 Highland Radio Hooley. All right, okay. A caller says, is there a problem where the well-resourced organisation who shout the loudest and can afford to produce professional reports on the perceived needs get what they want to the detriment of parents, carers, people with disabilities, alienated victims, etc., who are not or are minimally resourced and who are traumatised because their needs are so devastating? This is a problem. A caller said he went a couple of days ago to climb Muckish Mountain, and there were a large number of cars parked alongside the road. No parking facilities. He met a lot of tourists from a number of different countries, but there were no restrooms facilities in the area for people to use the bathrooms or even wash their hands. Sometimes you wonder, we might get gates before we get parking there. And on it goes. More of your comments here to come on the way, but we're going to take a short break. Stay where you are. Back with more after these.
The 9 till noon show is brought to you by Letterkenny Credit Union. Digital loans now available. Apply online or via our app today and get your loan transferred directly to your current account.
Bluebird Care are currently recruiting carers and nurses across Donegal, with immediate starts available in Letterkenny, Ballybuffet, Inishowen and Donegal town areas. Your career with Bluebird Care starts here, with new attractive pay rates, travel assistance, paid training courses and ongoing career progression opportunities. Why not contact Bluebird Care on 074 91 29562 or learn more at bluebirdcarecareers.ie. Bluebird Care, more than just a career in care.
At the Central Statistics Office, we're trusted to gather all sorts of information. So, we count lakes, stakes, and haulage intakes. We count wages, ages, and all of life's stages. We count loans, phones, still living at home. We count euros and cents and housing and rents. We count Mars, electric cars, and the price of a jar. Because this data informs important decisions on everything from economic activity to housing policy to what to call a new baby. And we can't do it without you. CSO, count on us. We count on you.
Alzheimer's Memory Walk takes place on Sunday, September 24th nationwide. Will you join us and walk for the 64,000 people living with dementia in Ireland? Register now for your pack and find a walk near you at memorywalk.ie or call 01207 3800. Let's walk together. Alzheimer's Memory Walk supported by Payzone.
If you know the beauty and skincare product that suits you best, you'll find them at McGee's Chemist Letterkenny. From moisturisers, cleansers and toners to day creams and night creams, McGee's have the top brands you know and love, like Lancôme, Clarins and La Roche-Posay. Also Elizabeth Arden, Vichy, Nukes and many more. All at McGee's Chemist, Main Street, Letterkenny and online at mcgees.ie, where the best costs less.
Hi folks, Paul McDevitt here, inviting you to join myself and Jimmy Stafford this Monday night for another edition of the Monday Night Sessions. On the show this week, we give a big welcome to Strabane singer-songwriter Darcy Wilders, and we also give a big massive welcome to the winners of this year's Letterkenny Busking Festival, the Letterkenny Ukulele Orchestra. So, that's the Monday Night Sessions this Monday night between 8 p.m. and 10 p.m. right here on Highland Radio.
Right, we're joined on the programme now by Councillor Donal Mandy Kelly. Thanks for taking the time to speak to us, Donal. Good morning to you.
No problem, Greg. Good morning to you and good morning to all your listeners, Greg.
Right, OK, so you finally got to sit down with Uisce Éireann, formerly Irish Water. A long time coming, a useful meeting, do you feel?
Yeah, Greg, listen, I suppose anytime you get Uisce Éireann, the senior executives or officials in front of you, it's positive from word go. And listen, as you stated, it was definitely a long time coming. Something I pushed hard for myself, as did other councillors as well, for a long number of years. But listen, we finally got to meet them face to face. It was positive, Greg. Every councillor got their opportunity to, I suppose, raise issues in their own area on behalf of their constituents, and you know that was very, very important. And I feel it was positive. Listen, there's a lot of issues to be ironed out with Uisce Éireann as well, and listen, we'll keep doing that, pushing forward.
But I suppose that's easy to do when you've got dates and timelines, which we have for some of the issues. And of course, you're going to be focusing on the Letterkenny and surrounding areas. Bomney and Tullygay, residents in those areas are subjected to regular outages, 11 in 14 days. What was the update from Uisce Éireann in relation to that situation?
Yeah, Greg, as you're fully aware, it's something I've been pushing hard on for the residents of Bomney and New Malls, Tullygay and Cornwall areas. And as you said, there are 11 outages in 14 days, and that has actually increased since the meeting. As recent as yesterday and the day before, there's no water either. I was very strong on this with officials of Uisce Éireann, and I wanted this addressed as a matter of urgency. I did ask them, because they had stated to me before that they were committed to addressing this issue in the first quarter of 2024. And thankfully, this is still scheduled to commence in the first quarter of 2024.
And is it actually work or exploratory work, i.e. do they recognise the problem for that area and have a plan in place for early 2024 to actually fix it?
Yeah, that's what they're telling me, Greg. Listen, they carried out hydraulic analysis assessment, and what that is showing up at the minute seems to be issues with bursts and valves. But they have, as stated, they have to put in new infrastructure on the ground there for them residents. They haven't committed to looking into this now and to addressing it in the first quarter of 2024. And another thing I also raised to them, Greg, with regarding in that area was, you know, I raised very strongly that they look at Lough Derg there. It's a lough that's up between the mountains in Carricknitty and Carrick there, between kind of where the windmills are, you know. And listen, as I said in the meeting, it mightn't be viable, but it's an option that I've asked Irish Water to look into, because I think it could be a solution to resolving issues along that area there, Bomney, New Malls and all, because it would feed right down into it. And listen, they took it on board. They are going to look into it, and you know, I think it's something that could work out positive. But Greg, the most important thing is the works that are scheduled for 2024. Irish Water did commit to me at the meeting that they are going to be pushing forward on them. So, you know, that's a good news story for the residents of these areas, and it will be I will be keeping pressure on to ensure that this work does commence as soon as possible.
You also got a commitment that work is going to start in November in and around the Rossbracken and Manacungan areas, but there are other hot spots. Were there any? Is there any particular areas whereby they didn't have anything positive to say?
Well, listen, you're right again, Greg. That works, and that's very welcome to Rossbracken and Raymochy. They already start now in November of this year. So they're going to be relaying 2.6 or 2.7 kilometres of new pipes there, new infrastructure for all them residents. So that should resolve the problem there. Listen, there's other councillors had issues in their own areas that they weren't happy with, weren't being addressed. And I suppose even as Michelle there, I raised the issue there, and a housing estate in particular there that I've got a number of calls in Letterkenny is Oran Hill. There seems to be a problem there with the stormwater seems to be connected to the sewers. And listen, I have been pushing and looking into this, and Donegal County Council, they have said that it's under the authority of Irish Water, and Irish Water don't seem to want to take the responsibility for it. So I have asked for answers on this. Now, I didn't get the answers on the day, but they are to revert back to me, and I will be following up on it because this is something that needs to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
But I was up there and met with residents in Owen Hill, and we're seeing pictures as well. When it's heavy rain, Greg, the sewers is actually coming out of the storm drains, and it's absolutely shocking.
All right, okay.
But listen, there's a lot of work that Irish Water need to commence with, and they need to get their finger out, and another thing we're very strong on was the connection fees. I mean, that's absolutely ridiculous, some of the connection fees, the costs that people have been asked. And I'll just give you maybe one example, Greg, if you don't mind.
No, go ahead.
It's actually a house not far from myself where they needed 180 metres of mains piping to put in. And, they were Irish Water gave them a value of €43,064 to take 100 metres of mains water up to the house. This is absolutely shocking. And, when I asked them to narrow this down, it worked out at a standard connection fee of €2,272. The cost of taking the 180 metres was working out at €27,381.
But the problem is
and
there
then
is
the road
not that
opening license was another $4,500.
It's terrible. But the problem there is that we don't have time. They've farmed that out to private companies to do that, though. So that might be difficult to get some movement on.
Yeah, well, that's just something, Greg, we're just going to have to keep the finger on and keep pushing forward on, because that's only one example. This is right through the county and the country, for that matter, where people has been given ridiculous costs for connection fees, and it's shocking.
Donald, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time this morning, and we'll get an update for you as soon as you get anything back from them on the other concerns you raised with them. For now, though, thank you, Councillor Donald Mandy Kelly. That's where we have to leave it on the programme today. Thank you to the team behind the scenes, Donna Marie Doherty and also Niamh Shields. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning at 9. Stay tuned. John Breslin